Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Fitchburg Planning Board on this evening, October 25th. I'm going to review a few comments. All meetings of the Fitchburg Planning Board are open to the public. This does not mean that the public participants in all aspects of the meeting. It simply means that the meeting itself, including all discussions and votes, is open for public view. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing, please raise your hand and the board will acknowledge you at the appropriate time during the hearing. The board will also monitor any participants that are attending virtually for questions at the appropriate time. Virtual attendees are asked to use the raise hand function to be acknowledged. 1, state your name and address. 2, approach the center table and either stand or sit. This allows you to be seen and heard clearly by everyone in attendance. 3, the planning board requests that comments be limited to no more than 5 minutes in the interest of time. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast, and I ask that anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by stating their name and address. Don't see anybody in that category? All right. Our first item of business this evening is a minor site plan for 8385 and 0 Marshall Street for parking plan for a reinstated 3-family. Is the applicant here?
I think he was going to be
Oh, he's going to attend
virtual.
virtually. That's right.
Do you see Nadell's?
That's
name?
what yes, I do. Nadell, it's all yours when you're ready.
Hey guys, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Again.
Wonderful. Hope it's going great. I'm glad I can make it. So, I'm here in regards of 8385 Marshall Street, the site plans. These just arrived 2 hours ago. I sent them over to Nick for engineering and to O'Hara, so he has them to post them up. Nick was concerned about where the water was going to flow, so he talked to the engineer. The engineer came up with these plans. I haven't reviewed them 100%. I know that he said it should be all set with what Nick wanted. I'm not sure if Nick had a chance to review it. He's been very helpful, and he's given me many chances, and hopefully this can make this work.
He's here somewhere. I think I saw him around. Did he? Oh, maybe he left. But anyway, I think he'll be on eventually if he's not here right now.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yes.
Just a little bit.
What do you want to see? The problem is it keeps getting cut off.
From what I was able to tell when I received this, I think the only thing from the most previous version that we saw Friday morning, Paul and Paula, was that circled on the left-hand side, proposed infiltration chamber for a tow drain. And I think that was at Nick Erickson's suggestion.
That is correct.
Okay. In the area we're looking at right now is for 2 parking spaces. It's hard to see with all the, I see 18
Yeah, well,
foot width.
stuff they got added. That is correct. That's for 2. Yep.
And then there's 4 on the opposite side of the street.
And there is 4. Yep.
So 2 spaces on 8385. Spaces on 0 Marshall.
I would assume Nick's going to call in. He usually does, but I don't see him on there. So.
No, you want to scroll down a hair to see the other 4.
Yeah, so pretty much after our meeting on Friday, I went to his office. We went over every note. The only thing that was concerning to him was trying to find out where the water accumulation on the 2 parking spots were going to go, because he didn't want to go to the street, and we agree with that. So I put him in 3-way with the engineer, and they went back and forth, and they figure out this infiltration system that's going to go in the middle of the parking lot of the 2 spots. It's going to be a pipe going around the entire parking lot, which is going to lead to the middle. And I think he has a sketch of what he has in mind on the print about midway on the right-hand side.
Perfect. Well, since you met with him, and it sounds like I know this has come a long way since we talked 6 months ago, or however long it was with the prior, with your partner there.
Yeah.
You've made a leaps and bounds from before, so I very much appreciate it. And since Nick isn't on, and it sounds like you guys are in kind of agreement, or you've talked about this, we can just make it subject to final review from DPW, just to make sure that his concerns are satisfied.
Can we look up?
That would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Let's look up the ZBA
Yes.
determination?
Oh, yep.
Just to make sure
Bear with
everything's
me
on
one
the plan
second.
that needs to be on
Yep.
the plan.
Yeah.
Christine. I think this is the right one. Yep, this is the one you were talking about.
Yep, okay.
So this was the ZBA decision. They had some conditions in their, in their continuance. They still, Nadil, you were saying that you're going to them at some point after this?
November 15th.
Yeah, I think our next meeting is coming up, I think it's November 15th.
Perfect.
And one of their requirement was for us to have an okay on the planning before we move on.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that, obviously, that these, Paula wanted to bring this up just to make sure these
Yes.
items
So
were
we can-
considered.
So we can go through that. One, trash spaces to be a line item on the plan, which we do see that on the 83 to 85, you have it fenced in.
Yep, correct, with vinyl fencing.
Okay.
Which is number 3, so you can skip that
Trash
when you
should be
get to it.
enclosed, yep. Final fencing, no chain link with slats and location shown on plan. 4, submit a budget and proof of funds for work proposed to be completed. That would be for the ZBA. 5, snow removal to be added to the plan. I think you have those snow reserve areas.
Yep, on both locations.
Guardrail on the wall shown on the plan not to be chain link. You have it listed, I believe, as vinyl or the wooden guardrail, and you
Or wood,
you might even do
Yep.
both.
correct.
Submit a plan for Lot 6 for snow removal. Which one is Lot 6? Across the street?
It's across the
The
street,
one where
which
the
is
house is.
actually,
The
yeah,
parking
it's
area.
actually lot 69, I think, but I don't know why they're calling it lot 6.
Yeah, lot
Or maybe the lot 6 is
69.
next door.
Okay, Lot 69, okay.
Yep.
And you have snow storage on there, and show the 6 spaces on, I think that must,
It's
well,
supposed to be 50, 83, 85, or whatever the heck. Mark
yeah,
said.
as emergency parking and garbage, Lot 6. So there is a total of 6 spaces between the two.
Oh, that's supposed to say lot 69.
Yeah, was that supposed
Lot
to say-
69.
So there is not going to be like 6 spaces on Lot 69, there's 4, and then 2 across the street.
Yeah, which I think I'm over one. I think it shows 1.5 per apartment, but hey, it's okay to have an extra one.
Yeah, I mean, as long as there's no confusion, I don't know why the ZBA, or I know originally you had more there. Obviously, we'll approve this, and, hopefully that doesn't hold you up. You just tell the ZBA, this is what the board approved, so. the
Yeah, I
plan- the planning
appreciate
board.
it.
Yep.
Do any board members have any questions on this plan? No. Right.
What was it? There is lot 6. They
It-
said you
Yeah, lot 69 is this parking
Yep.
lot, and then lot
but
6.
what were they referring to?
I'm sorry.
Oh, lot
There
6
is a
is
lot 6. Lot 6 is the host lot.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Laura. So, lot 6 for snow removal, and have lot 6 as emergency parking and garage.
Oh,
I guess you'll have to talk to the ZBA about
That.
that. I think we've worked with you enough on this. The planning board's comfortable. I'm comfortable. I shouldn't say the planning board. I'm comfortable with the plan, the way you drew it up, and you'll have to discuss that with them, Nadal. You'll just have to know that one of their conditions was show 6 spaces at 69 Marshall, which I think they meant lot 69 across the street. You don't have
Okay,
6.
I'll get that fixed.
Yeah, you don't have
Correct.
6, you have 4. And then lot 6, which is the house lot, show it as emergency parking and garbage, which we're not necessarily doing, making 2 spaces there. So you're just going to have to, I guess, describe the situation to them, and
Yeah, I will.
that
No
this was
problem.
the approved plan, and hopefully they don't require you to change it.
Yeah, I hope so as well.
Yep.
all right.
Beautiful.
Any further questions from any board members? Okay. Is there any motion?
I usually print out an agenda, and I don't have it, and there wasn't one in the Dropbox. This isn't a public hearing, right?
No.
Correct.
So I don't need to
It's
close
just
the
a minor
public hearing.
site plan.
Yeah, so I don't need to close the
Correct,
public hearing.
minor site plan.
Okay, make a motion to approve 83, 85 Marshall Street, subject to the most recent plan dated October 25th, 22, and just with the caveat that it's subject to final review from DPW regarding drainage.
Second?
Motion's made with the second. All those in favor say aye, all those opposed say opposed, and we'll take roll call. Alin?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Amanda?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you, Nadal.
Thank you, guys. Have a
Good luck.
good night. See you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
We'll try to get that
Thanks.
decision for you before the meeting.
I appreciate you guys. Have a good night. Thank
Thanks.
you. See you. Bye.
Our next agenda item is a minor site plan for 145 Authority Drive for Tough Stuff Recycling. Here for a change of use.
Mr. Gurney is here.
Yes, ma'am.
And
How's it
his
going?
Associate.
Another beautiful day in paradise. Hope you all are having the same.
We're ready for you. Let me just pull up the site plan here. All right.
Hopefully this one's less complicated, so. Pretty
Perfect.
straightforward. We're just taking an existing building, not doing anything with grade, just changing a couple parking spaces there and notating where we're going to stage trailers, bins, and our one-way and two-way entrances. So after Friday's meeting, you guys had a few suggestions, which we did implement and change in our plan. We have do not enter signs where our one-way stops and our two-way starts right there. We also have a customer drop-off zone. We've changed where our parking is on the front versus on the east side anyways versus the west side to allow a little bit more parking area. Plus we've denoted the actual size of the parking. I believe, I can't see from here, but I believe it's the 9 by
Yep,
Okay.
9 by 18, yep.
by 18, yeah.
Yep.
So that was pretty much the extent of our plan. In the notes, you know, our security camera locations are to be determined. We're currently working with the PD and a private contractor right now to determine placement of that and to hopefully minimize any illegal drop-offs at our property once everybody finds out who we are and what we do. So.
Perfect. And I'm glad you put the gates on there too, that if and when you decide to do that, that's on the plan.
We are deciding that. It's just nice, you know, supply chain issues have hindered us, but that
Yep.
everyone's having those issues these days, so.
For the general audience, do you just want to explain what the intent of the business is?
Oh, yes. We are a mattress recycler is what we do. So we've came into Massachusetts because starting the first, mattresses are a landfill ban item along with some textiles and other things. And we have came in to help the surge of mattresses that will no longer be able to be landfilled. And that's pretty much our primary business. We take those, we pull off all the recycled components, up to 75 to 85% of the mattress, recycle those into second and third party items, and that's pretty much the intent of our business here. So
It's only mattresses that you do, nothing
only
else.
mattresses here, yes, correct. We may expand further recycling operations here, but that's not in the plans currently. Currently, it's just to take care of the major issue at hand, which is the mattresses. So.
And this is a little unique in that it may offer some of the residential or the types of drop-off at certain times.
Yes, correct. So our business operating hours are from 7:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon, and the residential drop-off will be during those times. Definitely not afterwards, but I'm sure we'll see that. But what we mostly do is work with municipalities in their current curbside collection. So most of the traffic we have in is truck traffic that's coming from aggregation points of municipalities, that's coming from trash collectors like waste management, different items like that, large volume generators. A very small part of our business is drop-off, but because we are in the city of Fitchburg, it was a request of them. It helps and kind of helps facilitate our business here. So we would like to implement that here as well.
Okay. And we mentioned as well that you probably have some security cameras at some locations on the exterior of the building.
Yes, we're currently working with a security contractor to get those in place. We just haven't decided the correct placements yet.
It's listed in the notes, like I told him to. It says security camera locations to be determined.
Great.
Mike, do you know when the drop-off hours would be? Would it be only during the work hours, Monday through Friday, or on
Only
the
during
weekend?
the work hours, correct, yeah. Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3:30 p.m. So,
All right. Is there any board member have any questions regarding this site plan?
My only, it's not a question regarding the site plan, it's more of a suggestion that maybe in the future, if demand allows and if your business model allows, you might want to think about Saturday morning hours. Because a lot of people, Saturday morning hours.
Oh, Saturday
Because a lot of people might not be able, especially when you do customer drop-off, they might not be able to get there between 7:30 and 3:30 Monday to Friday.
so this honestly, would you mind if I have Rodney come up to address that real quick?
Sure, just state your name.
Rodney is, all right, go ahead.
My name is Rodney Clara. I'm the Director of Business Development for Tough Stuff Recycling. There are two things that we're working with also with Waste Management. So they have a Saturday drop-off until we can get the permission to have drop-off for residents on the weekend, which would be a great opportunity. We're going to be working with Waste Management where they're going to have a drop-off at their operations on Saturday until we can bridge
That's
that
great.
gap.
Oh, great.
We're also going to have curbside service for Fitchburg residents too, so we're going to be able to go and that would mitigate the illegal dumping that may happen within the boundaries of Fitchburg. So we're going to go out and pick up from residents curbside, which is currently not going to be offered anymore by Waste Management. So we're trying to be proactive and trying to prevent the illegal dumping. So if someone has a unit, we're going to be out there and we're going to actually give Fitchburg a better rate because we're, of course, in the city limits. We're very close. We can get out there. We can service the residents. So we're trying to really be proactive to minimize that illegal dumping and the concerns. And we're also going to advertise it on the webpage as well. So there'll be a frequently asked question list. People can reach out to us, they can ask us, so we want to work proactively with the community to make sure that we can help prevent illegal dumping.
Great.
Thank you.
Rodney. But I appreciate you guys making the changes to the plan that Paul and I had discussed. It looks good. I'm good with it.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? No? All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the minor site plan for 145 Authority Drive, subject to the most recent revised plan dated October 24th.
Second?
Motion's been made with the second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed, and we'll take roll call. Alin?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Amanda?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all for your time.
Thanks, guys. All right.
We have the public hearing portion of our meeting this evening. The first three items are working with extensions of special permits for cannabis applications.
Mike, just out of curiosity, I had asked Paula outside, it came to my mind when I looked at these. Have we been updating, or do you have an updated spreadsheet that you had a few years ago you had shared with all the dates for the, I'm just curious
I
about the
don't
ones
have
that
it.
we haven't seen. John Fitch Highway, Water Street, when.
John Fitch and Water Street aren't, they have a CO from Fitchburg Building Department. They don't have final sign-off and okay to open from the CCC.
Right, so don't we have to keep the extensions alive then?
I'll check on the dates. I think to be safe, probably, if that's what the board wants to do.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what we've been doing up to now, so it's just,
Depends what.
you don't want it to be a technicality where they get they go to the CCC and the CCC says you don't have an active special permit,
Yeah,
so.
okay. No,
Just
good
something to
point.
keep an eye on.
So before us, the first one is an extension of a special permit, permit number 2018-15 for Blue Collar Botany at 644 River Street.
Paul, I think this
Al
is what
is-
you had asked for. Mike, is this what?
Yes,
Okay.
at least that.
Hi,
So-
Hal.
That just shows
Hey.
that there's been the original one back 4 years ago now, and a couple of extensions, one by way of COVID, I believe, which takes it up to Halloween. And Hal is just asking for another extension.
The only question I have for you is how are things going? When are you due to get moving?
2 more electrical panels that I paid for in January, and they'll be here any day.
That's all you're waiting on?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
No kidding.
In January.
And then final
Yeah, right.
inspection. Right.
Okay. What is the extension you're seeking for how long?
Till the panels?
I think it would be safe, it would be safe to do 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And we like to ensure that the last extension was recorded, so I'll just say this is conditional on that the last
You
extension.
put the
was
book and
on there.
page on that document up there, Paul.
No, that was prior extension 1. There's been a subsequent extension in 2021.
Yeah,
Says no-
look at the book and page. It's next to 2021.
Oh, all right.
10/4/449/218.
Well,
I didn't
guess
look
the
it.
one
I didn't look it up, but
I printed
I
this
did.
yesterday, and it
There.
didn't have the date on
Okay.
it, all right?
Perfect.
Sorry, I'm
Friday.
looking at the one on my sheet.
yeah.
So, great.
Yep.
Perfect. Does the board have any questions on this, or we also open it for public comments?
No.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience? Please thank you. Raise your hand function. If you'd like to speak on this matter,
This is
Applicant-
644 River Street.
applicant seeking a one-year extension.
There's no one virtual that has any questions.
Okay. That being said, if nobody else has any further questions?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion's been made to close the hearing.
Second.
A second? And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, now discussion.
Make a motion to grant a one-year extension for Blue Collar Botany, 644 River Street, to October 31st, 2023.
Second.
I'll second that.
Alex can second it, that's
All right.
okay.
Thank you.
Motion's been made with a second. I'll say all those in favor say aye, all those opposed say oppose, and we'll take roll call. Alin?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Amanda?
Aye.
And I think we can do Tracy because Peter's not here.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
and Tracy.
Aye.
Right.
Thanks, Hal. Good luck.
Thank you.
If the rest of the board didn't hear, Pete sends his regrets tonight because he is sick at home.
All right. Our second application this evening, under our hearings, is an extension of a special permit 219-16 for Canterbury at 310 Broad Street for cannabis cultivation.
See,
Catherine has her hand raised. Catherine, if you'd like to just hit the mute button, there you go.
Thank you. Catherine Bierwas on behalf of Sean Morrison and Canterbury. We are asking for a one-year extension for the special permit for 310 Broad Street as a cannabis cultivator. As some of you may be aware, there is a dispute between the partners. We have asked for the courts to kind of intervene and help us sort that out. But Sean Morrison has spent over $300,000 trying to move this project forward, and it would be really detrimental to Canterbury and to the entire project if the special permit were pulled at this point. So we would ask that you grant us a one-year extension for the project.
Legal issues aside, is there any progress being made, or has that halted entirely too?
It's debatable. We have a final pretrial in January, so we're hoping that we can at least resolve something, hopefully before then, and start to move the project forward.
Right. But again, legal situation aside, has the building changed at all in the last year or two?
Not much, is
Okay.
my understanding.
Okay. So how far away, let's assume for the sake of argument that the legal issues are resolved today. How long is build out? How long would it take to be up and running?
Well, they do have plans already. Fuss and O'Neill's plans for the entire building have been generated, so those are ready. It would be a matter of the partners agreeing and putting money forward to continue the project.
Right. So stipulate that that's happened. How long does it take to complete the project?
Probably a year.
Okay. I'm just trying to, I asked that question because we can't plan how long the legal proceeding is going to take, but if we're assuming it's going to be at least a year to complete it, then the assumption is you're most likely going to be back for another extension in the future. I'm just trying to let everyone understand, being the board and people in the audience.
Additionally, is whether or not the last extension was recorded.
I think I actually have a book and page for that. I can send that to Mike tomorrow.
Okay.
Pretty sure I have done that.
Is any effectiveness of this extension, if we grant the extension, would not be effective unless that's recorded?
Okay. I can definitely make that happen if it wasn't, but I think it was.
Oh,
given that this is a cultivation license and there's no real, it's not really holding back any other applicants, I have no issue with continuing it.
Thank you.
Where is it with the CCC, though?
We can't proceed with the CCC until we resolve this issue.
It's going to be protracted, likelihood.
Hopefully not.
No. I guess we'll address that a year from now. Is there any further board questions or comments on this application?
Just one more question. This is cultivation only.
It's cultivation only
Right.
Correct.
on Broad Street next to DPW.
Yep.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in this matter? This is a public hearing for the extension request for 310 Broad Street.
I do have the book and page, Mike, for the extension. It's 10180, page 211. That was recorded November 16th,
Oh, that's the
21.
one before it.
That's the previous extension, I believe.
Okay, hold on.
Good try.
I looked this afternoon, I could be wrong, but I didn't catch it.
Yeah,
But
in
it's just-
in that case, unless it was recorded wrong, I don't see it in there.
But it's easy enough to pick up at the clerk's office.
I would say that,
and take it
well,
across the street.
this extension would be certainly conditioned on whether or not the last extension was recorded.
Yeah, Catherine, you're going to want to look into that, because I don't see it in the registry. Unless,
I will-
like I said, I searched by name and by address, and the only one I saw was the November 2021 one. So just
Okay.
verify that.
I will definitely take care of that.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in this matter?
No, hold on. You guys, that is the right one.
That's-
November 2021 is extension 2, because extension 1 was October 2020.
Well, then,
Right.
then
Yeah,
there's,
it
then
would
there's
be
a missing
approved-
book and page for that one.
Right, then the first one is, the first one was never recorded, the October 2020 extension.
So please resolve.
Either way, it looks
either
like
way,
one of them wasn't
It needs to
recorded.
be resolved.
I'll find it and I'll fix it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Again, last time, has anybody in the audience like to speak? There is somebody with their hand raised.
No, it's her, it's Catherine.
Oh, it's Catherine. Right. If there's no further public comment on this matter, anybody like to make a motion to close the
Make a
hearing?
motion to close the public hearing.
Motion's been made to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? All right, discussion?
Make a motion to approve the extension for 310 Broad Street, just subject to clarification of the legal chain of those recordings.
Yeah, I would say subject to just making sure, ensure that they're recorded prior to this
Yep.
one being effective.
Yep. And
And the extension is to what date?
November 30th, 23. I'm just going to keep 1 year from the end of what we're at now.
We said October 31st in the last one.
No, it was no, I'm looking at it. It was November 30th, 2022. The blue collar
Oh.
expired October 31st, 2022, so I'm just keeping them
Okay.
in the line that they're in.
Okay, 11/30, 2023. Board members okay with that?
Yes.
Yep.
So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
And a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed, and we'll take roll call. Alin?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Amanda?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you very much.
Oops, sorry, wrong button. You can ignore that.
Our next item on our hearings is an extension of a special permit 2020-2 for Apical 431 Westminster Street for cannabis cultivation.
And you remember Brian Horrigan? I see his name.
Yep.
And his associate, Mark Rochette.
Yeah, whoever wants to speak, I mean, Brian or Mark, I'll hit the allow to talk. You guys can choose.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you again. It's Brian Horrigan for Apical, and I'm joined by Mark Rochette Consulting virtually. He's our GC overseeing the project, and specifically, we're seeking an extension. It looks like there might be a typo here. Extension, a typo here, but we're seeking extension on the conditions of special permit for 431 Westminster Street, cannabis cultivation and manufacturing. I want to say June. We're seeking an extension through June to be receiving our certificate of occupancy. Safely, I might even ask for August or September, but I think we're actually going to be ahead of that.
June?
Spring.
June 23.
Yeah, you're right. There might be a typo on here because it says.
Right. That's what I'm sorry. That's what I was referring to.
Is your current?
Currently, the expiration date or the permit is extended through December 31st of 2022.
Okay.
So Brian, just out of curiosity, I'm sure you picked June because it's comfortable for you, but are you sure? Because I'd hate for you to come back next summer and say we need 6 more months.
You think I want? I hate to take up y'all's time on this, and I really don't want to do that. Mark, I think substantially complete to get the CEO as a requirement.
Yeah, Brian, if I may, this is Mark Rochette, Rochette Consulting, general contractor for applicable 431 Westminster Street, special permit extension request 2020-2 here. And we, I mean, if we want to grant a year, it's up to Brian to accept that. I don't think we need that at all. The general background of what this extension was, last year we had this special permit in place. We had some COVID issues. The equipment was delayed. Now we have the equipment stored. In between that, though, while we're waiting, the code had changed for wall and ceiling for the panels that we were utilizing. All us cooler panels classified, and with new NFPAs and building code that came out in between, we already had the permit. Panels on order, and there was a wall and panel assembly now interjected. The building department contacted us, and our architect. They requested that maybe we had an issue, and the panel company that was hired and still is utilizing their panels was not, now with new code in place and testing assembly, they had an issue. They brought it to our attention as a responsible subcontractor, where they might not meet the new classification. We discussed this with the building department and our architect. We had to make a shift with another panel company that does meet the assembly classification that is required. So therefore, it bumped the panels from the original plan and permitted project that we had ordered. We had to scrap that and shift to a new, different company, where therefore now that bumped us out. We had to wait 7 months to get these. We've been on site. We've done a lot of prep work since, and right now we're just waiting for the panels to arrive, and they're due to arrive. Looks like the end of right after Thanksgiving or beginning of December to start arriving from Canada.
Perfect.
So therefore, we can't do any of the room build-outs still. These are the walls still for the cultivation rooms.
Just to be safe, I appreciate the fact that you're giving us a decent timeline. I'm going to cushion it by allowing you a year from this, because I think that just makes sense. And honestly, if we want to just make it October 31st, 2023, that way it aligns with the shortest of these three. And if we have to do an extension next October, we have more than one to go through again. So hopefully you'll be all done by then. Hopefully there won't be any issues.
I'm hoping I'm permitting another project with you guys in Pittsburgh by then.
Good.
What about the progress on the exterior?
We have done a lot of the window repairs, blacking those all out, a lot of different roof issues we've taken care of over the current, the phase one part. We've cleaned up in and around the whole entire building, as we've stated. We're not going to be able to do much of the site work until we have the panels and the infrastructure that comes in from the utility company for the new service. Mm-hmm. We don't need to upgrade water service. We do have sufficient and large enough water main that's already currently there in good shape. So therefore, we have the pads going in the spring and the paving and all that. So right now, the plants are getting ready to shut down in a month. So we're not going to make that window. And I didn't want to have a mud pit right there behind the river for the winter. So I made the decision to do the site work here starting early in the spring.
Okay.
And tidy that up right around probably the middle of April.
Because if the board remembers, a future phase of this was to do the parking lot on the opposite
Yes,
side.
that would be the phase two, but the
Yeah.
phase one is the sidewalk and parking and everything on the current
Yep.
site,
Yep.
windows and all that, fencing.
So Brian and Mark, the parking lot on the opposite side of the street, next to that little pond, that's pushed off till next spring?
That's phase
summer?
2, if I'm not mistaken, what we agreed to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, respectfully, and I think as far as the phase 1 extension to October's would be appreciated. Trust me, I hope we beat the heck out of that and are well ahead of that need, which we anticipate, but in part supply chain, the uncertainty, and then the domino effect to move forward to the next phase of it. So,
Okay. And I would say, similarly, that please ensure before anything becomes effective that prior modification and extensions have been recorded.
Hey, Brian, is that courier location still alive in that building?
Oh, no, that was, there was a special permit
Yeah.
for delivery. Well,
I thought they were
for a
living.
B,
I thought they
but
were living together with the. I didn't remember
No, they, it's been several years now, and
Everything
they-
has been.
They decided to go elsewhere, not this community.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, it looks like we might have some missing recordings for these two.
I think so, but I'll coordinate with.
So Brian, similar, and Mark, similar conversation as to we had with the last applicant. Looks like some of the extensions might not have been recorded. This extension will not be official until you record those.
Brian, just contact me and we'll figure it out.
okay, very good. Because I see the. Okay, I'm looking at the extension 2, and I'm noticing off the agenda. So we'll make sure that it is in fact recorded. That Mike, I will reach out. Appreciate that very much.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this matter? This is for an extension request for 431 Westminster Street, which is cannabis cultivation.
No one in the virtual audience.
No one in virtual audience, and no one physically either here. All right.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion's been made to close the hearing.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? All right. Discussion?
Make a motion to approve the extension for 431 Westminster Street, Apical. I would make the new extension good until October 31st, 2023. Subject to the same as the last one, verification or correction of missing recorded documents.
Second.
And there's a second to that? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed. And we'll take roll call. Alin?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Amanda?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all very much.
Before we leave cannabis altogether, a quick one. It's later on, but I see Charlie Yon, 140 Industrial Road. That's just a quick clarification of one special permit condition. Figured, as long as you're in the mood for talking
I got it
about
right here.
cannabis.
Security. So who's here for this?
Charlie Yon.
Okay, I see the highlight on my page. What's the problem, Charlie?
Hello, can you guys hear me all right?
Yep, loud and clear, Charlie.
Thank you. This is Charlie Yon, Director of Operations for 140 Industrial Road LLC, located at 140 Industrial Road, Fitchburg. Appreciate the planning board hearing our appearance this evening. Wanted to provide a brief update on our progress towards certificate of occupancy.
Very brief, because we're doing this out of order.
As well as provide, seek clarification on this particular special permit condition. So construction has continued to go well. We're working diligently with the planning department towards a certificate of occupancy, at which point we'll begin the licensing process with the Cannabis Control Commission. And I'd like to shout out Talam Zupa. He's been great to work with to date. On the special permit condition, just want to clarify that, the Cannabis Control Commission requirements stipulate that we have a sophisticated security system including video surveillance, 24/7 access control, intrusion alarm, as well as other, security layers. And the clarification we'd like to understand is if this system in itself satisfies the spirit of the 8th condition that's highlighted here.
I would believe that it does. The MMM was for medical, so that put it under Mass DPH at the time. I know there's been advancements in the rules and regulations for CCC since that time, so it was probably a carryover from that. So as long as it's meeting the CCC security requirements, I don't have an issue.
Understood. We greatly appreciate the board's time, and a special thanks to Mike O'Hara for helping us through this process.
So is the security on it? It's just not in person?
Yes, it's 24-hour security. It's just not a physical person. Correct.
Yeah, that's just the point.
So yes, it meets the intent. Particularly because it's not a retail facility either.
Just out of curiosity, Mike, would that be something that we should do with a minor modification, or just leave it as the board's judgment on that condition is that's okay?
I think that's simpler.
Perfect.
The latter.
I'm with it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you kindly.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. We have a special permit and site plan review by Lorgan at 106 East Street for a 3-family. And did we receive a request to continue? Was there the in person or in writing?
Bill's right here.
Yes. Bill.
Yeah, we're requesting a continuance because they just found a civil engineer to be able to do the work. As you probably know, civil engineers are worth their gold right now. And so he needed some more time to be able to accomplish what was asked of him. So hopefully by next meeting, we should be able to present it.
And if for whatever reason it drags on for not, because of the engineer, just let us know ahead of time if you're not going to be here that they want to continue it.
Sure.
Because like Paula was saying, we just need someone, you or the applicant to say, yes, continue it. Otherwise, it becomes complicated.
Yep.
Make a motion to continue to our next meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second to continue the matter to our next meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, continued. Next item on our agenda, special permit and site plan review by Lorgan for 633 Main Street for 16 multifamily units on the second and third floor and commercial on the first floor. Good evening.
Bill, what would you like up on the screen? What do you think would be your...
Well, I guess the site plan first. That'd be the first floor plan.
This one, the preliminary drawings?
Yes.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, just tell me if you want to change pages or whatever.
For sure.
But I'll keep it going as we're going.
Yeah, so we'll start there. So this is an existing 3-story building, a couple blocks down the road. Right now, the second and third floor are vacant, and the first floor is for commercial, and there's a dentist in there right now, and there's another tenant on the first floor. So the plans are to convert the second and third floor to residential apartments and maintain the commercial aspect on the first floor. The second and third floor, we're looking at a mix of 14 two-bedroom and 2 one-bedroom units. And
So that brings a total of?
Total of 16. 8 and 8.
18.
Right now, the building has one means of egress off of those floors, and we'll be providing a second means towards the rear in the alleyway. There's a right-of-way to the rear of the building that we want to maintain for the second means of egress and also trash collection. It does have a way out to the public road, so they'll be carrying, there'll be a wheeled dumpster that, small wheeled dumpsters that will be rolled out to the road to be picked up for, trash. won't be seen by the public, they'll be hidden. There was a comment made about in that right-of-way area, because it is surrounded by buildings, that wanted probably 2 security cameras back in there. So we'll be providing whatever security that's needed to maintain for the new tenants who will be coming in, so they feel safe in that second means of egress. The exterior of the building, the front of the building along Main Street, we feel that it's adequate the way that it is. It's been maintained over the years very well. Thank you. Windows, everything's masonry. There might be a couple places that need to be patched here and there, but for the most part, it's in great shape. The rear of the building also is in great shape, but we will be putting in new windows. It's, the windows are ancient back there, and so we're going to have to put in some new windows. And then along the storefront, we're going to be painting the sign band above the windows and not changing out the storefront now. But over the years, as new tenants come in, we'll probably be changing out the storefront systems to something new.
What's the approximate size of the units?
Pardon me?
The approximate size of the units?
Of the residential units?
Yes.
The one-bedrooms are 600 square feet each, and the 2-bedrooms are 800 to 1,100 square feet.
And they're...
Half of the 2-bedrooms have 2 baths, nice open space.
Oh. And market rate at this point?
Yes.
Market rate. And our understanding that there is an elevator shaft, but there's no elevator to be installed.
We will not be using an elevator, that's correct.
And let's see. So a couple of waivers. It looks like this, the application would be needed this evening.
That's right, yep, for parking and,
So the calculation for parking at 1.5 spaces for the 2 bedrooms plus 1 space for the 1 bedrooms brings it to 23. I think you mentioned, an earlier discussion, not this evening, it was mentioned that you were looking for 16, 1 per unit.
correct.
Additionally, it's a multifamily, so special permit there. There's a density provision of 2,500 square feet per unit, so you're seeking a waiver for that.
The density, yes.
For the existing structure. And the parking, where would the 16 parking spaces be?
Well, we
made?
talked about the parking, and then, just down the street on Boulder, there's a parking garage within 800 feet. And also then there's a parking lot that's not really been established yet by the city where the old fire station was.
On Oliver Street, yeah.
And so it's surface parking, and that parking lot might be closer. I believe it is closer to the building than the other parking garage.
So the interim intent is speaking with the parking clerk and obtaining spaces in the present parking garage?
I believe you already talked to parking?
Yeah, we had a brief conversation.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that this is gonna, get passed before we start,
Oh, yeah.
But we want to be able to...
Subject to a future lease agreement.
Yes.
So we want to make sure you're able to get the parking in order to pass it.
We had this discussion a while ago.
Yes.
They said it was fine parking.
Okay. And if this would be part of the leases as well, the parking space?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And yes, it's within 800 feet in the ordinance, and, right, you would not be beholden to that particular parking garage, just be within with any, available public parking space. I mean, for underneath the provisions of the parking clerk that reserve spaces.
All on the floor plan, it shows
Yes.
the layout and the square footage of each unit, actually.
Yes, it is right here.
Lower right corner has that table of, right, there you go.
Those are all the sizes, Paul. So it's 15,000 square feet of residential units, give or take, and then those are the individual sizes.
correct.
Right. Yeah, so at 2,500 per unit.
Oh, and then
Like,
the only,
yeah,
then
40,000.
the only other thing remaining is, Bill, we had talked about the rapid flashing beacon that the city's working on funding to install in front of the library as the crossing, and we said the alternative to that is if you don't want to get tied up in that installation in and of itself, that we would treat this like we treat any other multifamily project, the $500 per unit contribution towards the fund, which we would then give to DPW to install that rapid flashing beacon.
Yeah, I believe that that's the way that we want to go, that route, rather than
I understand. It makes
installing
it
the
clean.
beacon.
It makes it cleaner for you. I don't think that would cover it anyway. But either way, the city's got to pay for some portion of it. So it just, like I was telling you weren't there, but like I was telling Bill that this project in particular is going to be right where that's being installed. So it's perfect, especially if you use the parking garage. It's going to be a direct benefit for your tenants. So, but I think that's fine. We can do it that way, and we'll just tell Commissioner Erickson that, you know, even if they pay for it now, we can reimburse the city or the DPW for those funds when and if occupancies get issued for these down the line. Okay.
Okay, do
Nick
you,
is on the meeting now, by the way.
what's that?
Perfect.
Nick Erickson.
Yep. So,
Does
Nick,
it-
I don't know if you're there, and you heard any of that conversation.
Do you have any
Yep,
department comments?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I've heard through community development that there's some extra money in the Main Street Boulder Drive two-way conversion project to fund that RRFB installation out in front of the library. So I'm hopeful that we can take advantage of that and get it done using those funds instead of having to make the applicant pay for this.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, if that's
And then just before we move on, from this project, I was just wondering, as far as water sewer connections goes, I'm assuming the existing building connections are adequate, or are you planning to do any utility upgrades as part of this?
Well, I believe we'd have to investigate that right now. That hasn't been done, but I know we have roof drains and we have, sewage drains, but sizing, I haven't looked into this at all yet. And I believe there might be multiple waste connections out in the street.
Okay, so when the time comes, I guess we need to do our due diligence. Like you said, the roof drains we need to make sure aren't connected to the sanitary sewer. We need to make sure the existing sewer service can support the additional units. We need to make sure the water service can do the same. I'm not sure if fire protection is going to be required. Do you know if the building is going to be sprinklered or is sprinklered currently?
It's sprinkled right now. And,
Okay, perfect.
It's a wet system, and that's going to be modified, to the new layouts.
Okay, great. So I think when the time comes, if there's no modifications necessary to bring a new water service into the building, then I think that's fine as is. On the sewer side, typically when there's a change in use and additional units are constructed like this, there's a sewer connection fee, and I don't have the fee schedule in front of me, but we'll need to talk through that during the sewer connection permitting phase.
Is that the I&I fee?
There's an I&I fee that's required if the amount of the average daily flow is above a certain threshold. So we'll have to go through the calculations for the proposed number of units to figure out what the projected average daily flow for the development is and go from there.
Okay. Just so the applicant's aware of that, the inflow and infiltration.
Since Commissioner Erickson, I mean, it sounded like the conversation was he has the funds for the rectangular rapid flashing beacon. And if that's the case, considering I don't know of any direct offsite improvements, and at the commissioner's suggestion, I don't mind getting rid of the per unit contribution. I mean, we don't need to collect it just to sit somewhere. If it's going to help, potentially move everything forward, I don't particularly have a problem with that.
Thank you.
Great. Questions from the board members this time?
have a question on the elevator. It's 2 stories of residential on the second and third floor. How are you, I thought there was a dollar amount of reinvestment that triggered that.
You're very hard to hear.
The elevator,
Yes.
you're not required to put
No.
one in for, even though it's second and third floor, the number of units?
No, we're not required to have that.
It would most likely only be if they accepted, affordable living, affordable unit credits. If you had any sort of accessibility issues that are required.
I thought there was a dollar amount to a reinvestment that may trigger it.
Yeah, we don't need
Okay.
the size of the project.
All right, just don't want you to have a big surprise.
And the building commissioner confirmed that, too.
He did?
It's
Okay.
not required per code. Last Friday, I think it was, we had a chance to take a look and snapped a few, there's a folder of some pictures
Oh, yeah,
of
I
the
got 'em.
interior.
Yep.
If you want to, it's kind of wide open right now, but
Mike, are there any other department comments?
Oh,
I do not know. I know Captain Kringen was along with us. Maybe the sprinkler heads would need to be
Definitely the sprinkler heads have to be upgraded.
rated, right.
Trying to see across to the library there.
Yeah, they have nice views from
Across the Fake Club.
the Main Street units.
It was former factory space?
Pardon me?
It was former factory space?
Factory?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
well, there was, last time I remember going up there, there was storage up there from the college. They rented out space in there. I think it probably was office space. It's wide open, and maybe before that it was mercantile, because it was really attached to one of the stores downstairs. They had a grand stair going up to that second floor.
Oh, okay.
Peter would know.
Resident historian
know.
is sick
I
today.
know.
Peter would know, but.
Is there anybody in the audience, in the public, for participation as there's a public hearing? This is for 633 Main Street for 16 multifamily units on the second and third floor, commercial on the first floor, seeking some waivers for reducing the parking as well as a density provision. Yes, Counselor.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Andrew Van Hazinga. I'm the City Councilor for Ward 4, which includes downtown. I would like to speak strongly in favor of this project. This is exactly what we want to encourage as a city downtown, is we need people. We need people living downtown and using these buildings that have been empty for decades. I mean, that dentist office, God bless them, has held on and is the only tenant in that building for for 2 decades, maybe 20 years.
Oh, yeah,
at least. So I'm very excited to see this project. I think it'd be great to get people living there, coming and going. I think it's a beautiful building from the outside. It has been well maintained, and I appreciate that, but I want to get people coming and going. I think the parking waiver is reasonable, I think. I think downtown there are additional spaces. If tenants need more than one car, they can lease another space in the garage or elsewhere as available. I think this is a good project, and I encourage you to support it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this matter? Yes.
Mary Jo Bohart, Economic Development Director for the City of Fitchburg. And similar to Councilor Van Hazinga, I wanted to acknowledge that this particular building is in a very important section of the downtown where many of the buildings have been dormant for quite a time, and yet it's directly opposite the library, which is one of the 4 major pipeline projects, and obviously the library is about to undergo major renovation and expansion. And so having this activated as a mixed-use project, commercial on the ground level, residential up above, ticks all the boxes of exactly what we've been seeking, and the fact that it will be market rate is wonderful as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll put that out there again if there's anyone in the public who would like to speak on this matter.
No one virtually.
Anyone else? All right. Does the board have enough information to make a determination this evening?
Public hearing.
Second.
A motion's been made to close the hearing with a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the special permanent site plan for 633 Main Street, 16 multifamily units on the second and third floor and commercial space on the first floor, subject to the following conditions. The security cameras to be located to the rear of the site in the alleyway, locations to be determined, subject to future review of water and sewer connections, and the appropriate sewer separation of the drains, the roof drains, and whatever else is necessary within the building. Also granting a waiver of parking from the 23 required spaces down to
16.
16, right, well, it's, yeah, right. Waiver's the difference, right, so it's a waiver of 7 spaces, but anyway. And the parking spaces are to be included within the unit leases, with at least 1 per unit, and a waiver of the required maximum density allowed.
To the existing lot size.
Exactly.
And you're waiving the fee, too?
And, yes, no fee.
Does that need to be in the conditions?
So those are the potential conditions. Is there, that's a motion on the floor?
Is that the, second?
We want to make, and there's a second to that
That was
motion.
a lot of motion.
That's okay. There's a lot of conditions to that. So there's a motion and a second in favor with the conditions as stated. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed, and we'll take roll call. Alin?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Amanda?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Thank you very much, guys. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wish you the best. Mike, did you get those? Only because this goes over a couple pages and it's messy. I can rewrite them if you need, but did you get those conditions?
But I can read your hand scratching pretty well.
No. The problem is I got to rewrite it because it's all over the place.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
have it in one spot. It's on
I
like
think
7
so.
different pages.
I think so. I'll write it up and send it to you.
Perfect. That's fine.
We can review the recording.
Keep my notes with me.
I don't know what we're
Yeah,
going to do.
that's reliving the dream.
We want to relive it all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's about 7:21, so if you want to look at that part in record, no. Maybe I should be stating that so we can go back and reference.
I'm just going to rewrite them for you.
All right. Our next application this evening is site plan review by Construction Dynamics for a 7,470 square foot light manufacturing office building at 70 Benson Street. Oh, Jamie, nice to see you this evening.
Good evening, everybody. Jamie Rowe from Haley Ward. And
sorry. What do you want up, Jamie, on this?
so I have paper copies if anybody wants a paper copy at the podium up there. But bottom line is I emailed Mike 3 PDFs this afternoon. And if you call those up, I can go over each one of them with you.
Okay, so I have a site plan dated today.
How about the 2013? Let's start with that.
Okay, is that this one? Nope. I got floor plan and oh, this one right here. This is what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the previous one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Just tell me if you need other stuff.
Yep. So part of the team for this project is Performance Transportation, Zach Taylor, Construction Dynamics. We have Donnie Dobeck here as well, and Jonathan Collette from Haley Ward behind me, the design engineer. The address of the project is 70 Benson Street. The lot area of this piece of property is 7.91 acres, frontage of 181 feet. It's zoned industrial, and this lot conforms with all dimensional requirements of the zoning code. Building permit was issued back in 2013, and we received site plan approval and conservation approval from the city of Fitchburg to build the 9,600 square foot building you see on this plan. And you can see a proposed parking area to the left of the building itself. That was never built. And the reason I wanted to show you this plan, 2013 plan, is that's exactly where we are proposing our building that's on the 2022 site plan. So at this time, Paul, you can probably go to the 2022 site plan.
Okay. And obviously the one dated today, right?
Correct. Probably next one. There you go, right there. So the new proposed building is being proposed within the parking area that was shown on the 2013 plan. And the new building will be utilized as light manufacturing, which is an approved use in the zoning district, industrial zoning district. It's going to specifically be used for auto assembly. Everybody's familiar with septic systems and septic tanks, and my understanding is this building is going to assemble and construct septic tank pumping trucks. It's a very, very good use for this building. The building, as proposed, is 7,470 square feet. As you know, it's specifically designed at that square footage to stay under the 7,500 square foot requirement to sprinkle a building, right? This building is going to be served by city water, city sewer. Because it's an industrial building, we're going to have a floor drain inside the building, and that floor drain is going to discharge to a grease trap, an MDC grease trap oil gas separator, before it enters the sewer system maintained by the city of Fitchburg. With respect to stormwater management, it's all in place now. Since we proposed this building where the pavement was proposed, we took into account that impervious area when we designed it in 2013. In order to handle the roof runoff, we're putting a stone trench on the north or northwest side of the building. The roof is pitched right towards that trench, and it's going to hit the trench, the stone, infiltrate into the ground, and that's how it's going to be handled. The soils in this whole area, sand and gravel. It's really fantastic. The parking and the total square footage of both buildings is going to be 17,070 square feet, and it's broken down into office, distribution facility, and light manufacturing. The total office space for both buildings is going to be 3,850. That requires one space for every 300 square feet. That equates to 13 spots. Distribution facility, 8,000 square feet. There's one parking spot required for every 1,000. That's 8 parking spots. In light manufacturing, we're going to have 5,220 square feet, one space per 1,000, 6 additional parking spots. Total required is 27, and we are proposing 27, along with 2 handicap spots that is shown on the plan.
And probably the number of employees does not reach the 27 spaces.
I do not believe so. Thank you very much for the courtesy of the Friday morning meeting. I think that's a great thing for you guys to do. Gives us an idea of what you're looking for, and
we get out of here before midnight. So.
Exactly. So one of the comments that were made were access around the building.
Yes.
So we revised the plan so that we have gravel access around the northwest side. Comes all the way around. On the north side, it's already paved. It's going to be paved on the south and on the east, and we'll have gravel access around the west side.
Is the width satisfactory to the fire department?
It will be. Yeah, that wasn't even a comment from the fire department with respect to the existing site plan that we submitted. But with that gravel access going all the way around, I'm sure it's going to be fine. We're fine with the conditional approval stating that the fire department must basically give its blessing for the access around the building. We're also seeking approval this evening so that Construction Dynamics can actually start the foundation in the good weather and get this project going. And with that said, landscaping was brought up at the Friday morning meeting, and I would propose a condition that a landscape plan be submitted to the planning board for approval and the landscaping be completed prior to occupancy permit being issued. Another comment Friday morning was a dumpster. There are 2 dumpsters on site already. if we need a third one, I'm sure we can come back and agree to a placement of the dumpster with the planning board. But there are 2 dumpsters on the northeast side already.
Okay. Clearly not visible from the road.
Yeah.
Clearly not visible for the road. And the abutting property is all industrial. In fact, this whole area is industrialized.
And the landscaping, as you mentioned, would be mostly along, well, the frontage.
Yeah,
The
just
frontage,
that
the Benson
landscape
Street.
island.
Correct,
Existing
correct,
lands-
yeah.
land
Li-
island.
Listen, Whitman and Bingham, Haley Ward could have certainly thrown some bushes, shrubs, and trees on the plan, but I think what we're going to do is have either Andrew Leonard or Brandon Bro, 2 landscape architects we work with, come up with a plan that makes sense and submit that to the board for approval. That's what we would prefer to do. to
Yeah,
be
I
perfectly
think that's
honest with
great.
you.
I think that's above and beyond. I think fantastic.
Yep. If you want to go to the next PDF, I believe that's going to be the building design.
This one?
Yes. So it's a schematic design. It should continue on. You might see a picture of what the building is going to look like right there. It's actually a mirrored image. The offices are going to be on the right and
said that
doors on the left, right?
I
So-
said it doesn't match up with your plan. He said, oh, it's the opposite way. So, the offices are closer to the other offices, right? They're kind of.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly right. Yep. So that's the project in a nutshell. We did not receive comments from the DPW, which we normally do. That said, a conditional approval, any comments submitted by the DPW Engineering Department, we would like an opportunity to take care of those with them and give a copy of the revised plan to the board as well.
Well, I know Jeff Hillman at DPW took a look at the plans today. He's on call as well
Okay.
as Nick.
Oh, fantastic. Yep.
Great. If there's anyone from DPW who'd like to comment on this site plan before us this evening?
Nick or Jeff, if you guys want to say anything.
Sure. I think the only other thing that Jeff had during his review was the utility trenches, just making sure that we've got the 12-inch cutbacks on either side. And then I wanted to add just the typical statements about utility permitting. So any new water sewer connections obviously need water sewer connection permits, and work done within the right-of-way needs to be done by a bonded contractor.
All acceptable. Pretty standard.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Nick.
All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak on this matter? This is a site plan for Construction Dynamics for a new 7,470 square foot light manufacturing building on Benson Street.
I had no one virtual.
There. And Mike, do we have any further comments from any departments?
Just- Police said no objection.
Okay.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion's been made to close the hearing with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for Construction Dynamics, 7,470 square foot light manufacturing office building at 70 Benson Street, subject to satisfaction of Fitchburg Fire Department review of access around the building, landscape plan to be submitted and completed before, landscape plan to be submitted and work to be completed before issuance of the occupancy permit, as suggested by the applicant. Coordinate with DPW regarding utility trenches, permitting, water and sewer connections, and working within the public way.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say oppose, and we'll take a roll call. Alin?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Amanda?
Aye.
And the site plan. No Tracy this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Okay.
Now the big one.
Hi, everyone.
I need to recuse.
I gotta go way back to my notes here.
Recuse. One FRA. This is,
You guys remember, what was it, probably
For the property?
June-ish?
Nope,
Has
it
it already
was
been sold?
April 26th.
well, I don't know if it's
10
closed.
p.m.
No, it didn't close.
Goes back to the beginning of this
You
notepad.
want me to do it? I'm happy to do it. I don't.
Let's see, we'll have 1, 2, wait a minute. We have Lynn.
We have everyone here but
Laura,
Peter.
Paul.
I'm on the board at the FRA.
She's on the board of the FRA that is.
It's still
still
5.
problem. Yep, we're okay.
So I can-
They need, it's a simple majority, so 4 out of the 5.
So as long as we have our minimum of 5.
Let's see, what else?
Yeah. So before us this evening, we have the site, this is continued from, I believe, from our April
Yep.
meeting. This is our site plan review for Fitchburg Land Property Owner LLC for 3,000, yeah, yeah.
You can keep that page.
I was going to say, over 350,000 square foot industrial warehouse and distribution center at 0 Crawford Street.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vice Chair, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the presentation, the PDF,
Absolutely.
and that should be all we need,
Was
hopefully.
that the first one?
Yep, first one.
Yep.
So thank you again for having us this evening. Again, for the record, my name is Haley Palazzola. I'm the project manager for the project proponent, Fitchburg Land Property Owner, an affiliate of GFI Partners. I'm joined tonight by my colleague Jacqueline Martin, Chris Anderson of Hannigan Engineering, and Andy Arsenal is on Zoom virtually. He's our traffic engineer from Vanoss.
Oh, great.
Saw his hand raised.
Yes, so Andrew, you said Andrew Arsenal?
Yep.
So I'm going to unmute him just so that at any point you need him, you can just call on him.
Okay.
So,
Andy, hopefully you've already eaten dinner.
oh, he can mute himself. It
Oh,
just
okay.
gives him the authority, the ability to mute and unmute, so.
We are here this evening in connection with the proposed 367,000 square foot warehouse facility located off Airport Road and Crawford Street in both Fitchburg and Lunenburg. Because it's been a few months since the last time we were in front of the board, I thought I would kind of take a step back and reintroduce the project from a high level and also introduce GFI just to talk a little bit about who we are, give you some perspective on the proposed project. So if you could go to the next slide, I'll try to buzz through these slides quickly. They're a little boring. So GFI Partners is a real estate developer based in Boston, Massachusetts. We're permitting approximately 10 million square feet of commercial industrial space throughout the region, about 5 million located here in Central Mass. We're big fans of Route 2 corridor and Fitchburg specifically, own about 4 other properties in Fitchburg. We've run out of space in Devens to accommodate life science industrial flex users. So we just keep moving further west down Route 2, which lands us in Fitchburg. Oftentimes it's hard for people to imagine what these large-scale industrial properties look like. So on the next slide, I've included a couple of projects that GFI is actively permitting or currently under construction. I won't spend a ton of time here, but I think it's important to note that not just warehouse uses require e-commerce. We service many other types of industrial users. We're currently permitting a 610,000 square foot warehouse, we've broken ground, for Royal Wine Corp. They actually produce grapes, and they're the largest kosher wine distributor in the world. So that's kind of a cool project. Another facility that we're working on is for, if you could just scroll a little bit further down on the page, for Independent Electric Supply out of Somerville, Mass. is moving to Billerica, along with Azenta Life Sciences. It's 165,000 square feet total in 2 buildings. And then finally, a really exciting project for us is we permitted 525,000 square feet in Hudson, New Hampshire, which will be the new home to Life is Good, their corporate headquarters, consolidating multiple warehouses under one roof, and will be their new home.
By the way, wasn't that company started by a couple of Fitchburg State kids?
Yeah, because he was a speaker at one
Bert,
of the
Bert Jacobs?
I didn't know that.
He was handed out Frisbees.
No
during
kidding.
graduation.
Bert Jacobs, we've been working with him a lot, and they're an awesome group of guys, so very cool project. But those are the types of users that could one day come back to Fitchburg, and so that's kind of why I thought it was important to share those projects. So if you wouldn't mind, Paul, keep scrolling. down here. Another slide, just some other projects that we're permitting. Stavis Seafoods is getting pushed out of Boston, and we'll call Brockton their new home. We're currently building a cold storage facility for them, so that's another interesting project. And actually, as we speak tonight, the other half of my team is in front of the Devon's Enterprise Commission for approval of Avantor Fluid Handling, life science biotech manufacturing company that was instrumental in providing a cure for the COVID-19 vaccine. So on this next slide, if you wouldn't mind, I'm just, again, going to reintroduce the project and give a high-level overview. And I thought it was important to kind of walk you through what we've been up to for the last couple of months, which is we have been working on the project. So just to kind of refresh the board's memory, we initially met with the city departments back in March 2022, and then filed on April 6th. We had our first planning board meeting with you in end of April. We held the Conservation Commission site walk in May 17th, 2022. We were asked at the first planning board meeting to investigate the feasibility of a connection road to 135 Intervale, which we did throughout the summer, and I'll talk about that later when we get into the plans. We also were able to negotiate through the introduction of the city, Mary Jo, to the Benoit family of Wass-Arthur Signs, who's here this evening. We will be acquiring a portion of their land to shift our driveway about 100 feet to the east, further away from the Nashua River, and will also provide full access for our employee driveway there. So that we'll get into as well later. We filed our traffic study to Fitchburg in July of 22nd, 2022. And then we began the peer review of our project in July. We received the traffic peer review in September, and then our stormwater peer review also in end of September. It's also important to note that we were contacted by the city of Leominster regarding our traffic study and asked to produce a traffic study specifically to traffic intersections located in the city of Leominster. So Vanos went ahead and did that, and that was filed to the city of Leominster on October 5th. We recently, on October 12th, refiled all of our plan sets in response to the peer review comments, which Chris will get into in a minute here. Last night, we met in front of the Lunenburg Planning Board, which all agreed to approve our waivers as requested, and they are drafting the conditions for approval. We'll be meeting with them in 2 weeks.
Just before we get off that topic, just out of curiosity, were there any unusual conditions that they imposed? I just don't want anything that we do to interfere with conditions from another board.
Sure, Chris can.
Yeah, no, I can speak to that. Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering. Typically, no. Lunenburg prefers to have a much more set timeline on construction hours and stuff like that. Their typical is, don't hold me to it at this moment in time, but it's about 7 to 5 during the weekdays, and Saturdays 8 to 2 and stuff like that.
Why do they care for construction? It's not even
it's a weird thing with them.
From Lunenburg.
They kind of indicated that they, weird project being as there's no access to Lunenburg, I think that they really took kind of a backseat approach and said, we'll see what Fitchburg says.
Yeah.
So is you guys were satisfied with whatever hours they had? So we can just say mirror the hours in that permit, just so we don't have any conflicting times.
I think it almost you guys take precedent, and we'll follow whatever the Fitchburg rules is. And if there's
That's good to know. Because I don't have any concerns with hours of operation. But.
Okay. And then finally, we'll be in front of the Conservation Commission again next week, November 2nd. I think that's next week. Okay. Anyways. If you could go to the next slide, Paul. So we had some drone photos taken of the site just so you could get perspective on the existing conditions. So this is a look at Crawford Street and Airport Road looking northwest. So Wass-Arthur Signs there is down in the south, and Needham Electric at 50 Crawford Street. You'll see the 135 Intervale project in the back, Nashua River to the left, and then the MBTA rail and the Baker Brook behind our site. The next couple of slides are just more drone photos to kind of give you perspective on the site. We can scroll through these. All right, I'll get into the proposed conditions, again, just from a high-level overview, and then Chris, I will let jump in and kind of talk through the technical side and responses to our peer review. So again, we are proposing a 367,000 square foot high bay warehouse facility. The site will be accessed by 2 new curb cuts. The first curb cut is off of Crawford Street, which is specifically meant for truck traffic. Trucks will enter on this site and drive to the rear of the facility, where there's approximately 61 loading dock doors. The employees will access the site off of Airport Road at the other side of the curb cut towards the Nashua River, provided a loop road around the facility, and be able to access the office spaces that we have designated on the floor plan, which I'll get to in a minute. We are providing 367 parking spaces, and I think that's kind of all I have to say. I'm going to let Chris get into the plans.
Thank you.
Great. Just again, Chris Anderson with Hanning Engineering. Do you mind going to the next slide, if you will?
This one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this one is fine. So on this plans sheet here, you see the truck entranceway along the easterly side of the property, as Haley just mentioned. This will be located exclusively for truck drivers and access to the rear loading areas. It'll be 30 feet wide for the traveled width. At the entranceway, there will be effectively a 3-lane driveway, 1 entry lane with 2 exit lanes, one going making a left-hand turn, one doing a right-hand turn to make sure a queue doesn't generate significantly on the property itself. There's a small infiltration basin on this near this entryway, which I'll go over at a much more broader detail in a moment. But as you can see, this extends in a northerly direction into the property. We'll provide additional truck storage areas as well on the property. I should note that this area is located both within the town of Lunenburg as well as the city of Fitchburg, so that's why we're going back before the town of Lunenburg for site plan approval as well. And on this sheet, you can almost start to see the Wausauthor sign improvements that we just mentioned. So if we can go to the next page. So as you can see here, along the left-hand side of the page, we have the relined employee entrance for the development. As we stated, we shifted this driveway approximately 100 feet further to the south to allow for greater offset from the Nashua River to provide compliance with some of the comments that the Conservation Commission had come up with, as well as to enhance the sightline profiles within this area. This driveway will extend into the property and will tie into a outer loop road, if you will, that will encompass the entire property. This is intended to provide access to the employee parking areas, which will create a secondary ring around the outer perimeter of the actual building itself, as well as be utilized as an emergency access in order to get to the truck loading area if need be for emergency vehicles, or if in the eventuality something happens on the main truck road, they can get out of the site. If you go to the next page, if you will. And through this, as you see, we're traveling further north into the property, and the loop road pretty much configures a giant loop and ties back into the backside of the actual loading dock area. As for utilities, we're going to intend to tie into the municipal sewer and water system within, the water system within Crawford and Airport Road. We'll provide fire sprinkler connections as well as domestic connections. This fire loop will pretty much encompass the entire building and provide access to several fire hydrants spaced throughout the property in order to provide fire suppression aiding capabilities. Sewer will extend north into a existing sewer trunk line that runs through the abutting property. The connection would be made within the city Fitchburg's sewer easement in this area. The property currently contains a old siphon sewer line, which, if the board's not aware, is a very unique way of transporting sewer water up a hill. Effectively, you move a lot of water through a really small pipe and it goes uphill. That's a very broad term for hydraulic calculations, but that's what it is. Due to that nature of that hypersensitive hydraulic state, we're proposing to extend the our connection further upstream of that pipe in order to maintain that flow to minimize impact on that line. As for drainage, we did receive comments from Ty and Bond relative to the stormwater calculations. We submitted that back in the beginning of the month, haven't seen anything. I can go over those in a broad brush review, but the intent of the stormwater management system is to collect all the runoff from the impervious areas and transmit them to one of several infiltration systems. The rear loading dock areas of the site all get transmitted to an underground storage system that's located within the loading dock area. There's two systems that are tied into series with one another so that there's no one system getting a sudden surcharge or runoff from these developments. Because of the expansive area of impervious area, pavement, and building, typically these sites see a large surcharge upon the beginning of a storm event. By spreading the wealth, if you will, helps mitigate the impacts and ensures the longevity of these systems. These systems tie into series, as I stated before, gradually discharging down further towards Crawford Street, ultimately reaching the small infiltration basin that I mentioned earlier at the entryway for the truck driving court, and that effectively contains up to, I believe, the 100-year storm event. So it's a very significant system to capture most of the runoff coming off this direction. In addition to that, all the employee parking areas and everything like that will be discharged in one of two infiltration basins that run along the Nashua River, and these again will be providing full compliance with stormwater management and the local stormwater ordinance as well, relative to mitigation, retention, and treatment of runoff before it gets discharged. And again, the nature of this is infiltration, so we don't see a discharge until, I believe, the 25 to 50-year storm event.
Chris, I believe Hannigan responded to the to the stormwater review.
Yes.
With that,
yep.
There was a number of comments about revising or incorporating into the O&M.
Yes, there was a couple comments relative to including additional measures within the stormwater basins, emergency relief valves, more inspection ports, stuff like that. So we've incorporated those into the plan. In addition, there was concern that we should also include some of the proprietary stormwater management features that we're using for water quality treatment, to include those also into the O&M plan, which they've also been incorporated.
So are there any issues outside of the comments that were made for incorporating them?
I don't foresee any comments coming from what they brought up.
Okay.
Those were DPW comments, or those were secondary
those were
party?
not DPW. Those
Time
were
Bond.
from
Okay.
Time Bond.
Okay.
And then the applicant responded to those
No,
comments.
I'm just
So,
to make sure
yes.
that we don't have any hiccups or anything. I'll just say subject to satisfaction of the Time Bond comments.
Yes, and then
There's no comments that you took issue with, right?
There was one comment relative to mitigation and calculations we've utilized in the past with the city and this board.
So let me say this, because I won't probably understand what you're going to say. With satisfaction of mitigation of the Time Bond comments, the one issue you have, I would say, to be verified with the DPW to their satisfaction. Because as long as our DPW is satisfied, then I have no issue with it, especially when it comes to stormwater, water sewer connections. All of that is neither here nor there for.
Understood. I won't bore you.
Everyone's eyes will glaze over, and all right.
Let's do it.
So the one thing, and I'm sure it was in there, and the one thing Nick always mentions is the operation and maintenance plan, and recording that, and making sure that's updated. And
Yep, the operation and maintenance plan has been significantly bolstered as a request from Time Bond.
and we can ask Nick to get any stormwater-related comments before we get into the, traffic separately.
Thanks, Paula. I had reviewed the stormwater design prior to Time Bond's review, and it was a while back, and I think I sent those comments to you, Chris. And I don't recall there being anything major outstanding. I think everything that I had, you incorporated into your plan set. I think one of the comments was about the doghouse manhole that you're proposing, and obviously that's been clarified. And Jeff also looked through some stuff, or through your submittal most recently, and his only comment was just that due to the extremely large nature of the development, construction period, erosion and sediment controls are going to be really important. So We just want to stress that those are installed at the proper sequence in construction and properly maintained throughout the duration of construction.
Absolutely.
What is the proposed construction timeline?
Hopefully in the spring, pending that we get through approvals before year end, and then have our financing in place. We expect to break ground sometime in the spring.
And when would be the completion, if it's going to be a phased project, or the all building, everything's going to be done?
Yeah, we typically like to move as fast as possible, and pending we get some tenants, I would say between 14 and 16 months on a fast track, closer to 16 to 18 months on the slower end.
Okay. And you proposing, you said potentially multiple tenants. Is this all one building? Is it kind of proportioned out to
So we designed it so it accommodate both single user or multiple users, subdivided by a wall in one structure, and that's typical of these warehouses, so they can share a truck court. Mm-hmm.
Great. I think further for the site, I do have some questions regarding the site plan.
I think I'm good.
Okay. So just include, I would say, some landscaping for the ordinance requirements of the 20-foot wide landscaping along the frontage.
Yes.
of the driveway.
I actually have a full landscaping set that was submitted. I don't have my landscape architect here, but I could fumble my way through the plans if you want to see those.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see some shrubs. The plan's very busy. I could see it like around the building. I just couldn't really, since you modified some of the entranceways.
Sure. And you probably couldn't see it on Chris's plan because as a follow-up to our resubmittal on the 12th, we then filed a separate landscaping plans to Mike. So that is I have the electronic set here, which includes approximately 100 new trees being planted all along the frontage.
Do you want to see that?
Sure.
If you go back to the present,
have it there because I don't see it in our Dropbox.
You go back to the presentation.
Oh, it was on the presentation.
Yeah.
You were actually on it.
I was already on it. All right, hold on.
Yeah.
And I will add that if there's further questions on the landscaping plans that we can't answer, which we probably can, but I can get my landscape architect to provide a memo if needed. He tried to use native plantings on the site, and as I said, there's a planting schedule. It totals approximately 100 deciduous and evergreen trees being planted, and I think just under 400 different shrubs and green grasses along the property. So that was filed in addition to Chris's plan set. So I apologize if there was any confusion on that.
No, great. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
It's like, and I think as it was also made mention, is just making sure that nothing impede site distance when you're getting to the actual entrances, so they're lower enough at that location. Signage. Is that established on the entranceways that you'll have?
At this point, not yet. When it does, we'll make sure it complies with the zoning ordinance and any.
Just once you determine the sign location, just show it on the plan and just resubmit the plan. I know that's kind of a last minute thing, especially because it's probably going to be determined on who the tenant ends up being. So that we can see where it's going to be on the site plan, and then before you install it, if you can give us an elevation drawing so we know what it's going to look like, how big it is, how wide it is, that sort of thing.
Proposed marquee. Now, this is probably just one of our general questions, but trash. I'm sure with a warehouse this size, you have a plan for that. Is it all interior?
There's several exterior dumpsters in the truck loading area.
Okay.
That will be enclosed vinyl fence, so it's viewed from whoever drives through the site, and the site is extensively located far away from the right-of-way with significant elevation relief.
Just out of curiosity, are they shown on? Yeah. Oh, yeah, right here.
There's
Enclosed
one on
dumpster
both
pad
sides, and typical of these kinds of uses.
Yep.
There'll be a dumpster somewhere inside the building for boxes and all that kind of other stuff.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm sure you have accommodated this, but can you just describe any energy type of controls or savings or solar or anything planned for the building?
Sure, I can speak to that. So we construct all of our buildings to be solar ready, and then typically before construction, we'll look at the feasibility of installing solar. We have solar on multiple buildings in our portfolio, so that's always something we consider. We use air source heat pumps in the office space to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and some of the other LED lighting fixtures throughout. We have a couple of projects under MIPA's jurisdiction as we speak, so we're working with DOER on a couple of projects, and we've implemented some of these things in our project and will continue to do so.
And exterior lighting, I'm sure, is probably proposed all the way around the building.
Yeah, there was a photometric plan that was submitted during the original submittal process. The general intent of that has remained the same. Night compliant light fixtures, no light shine beyond the property lines, and adequate lighting in or around the site in order to make sure that people get around the property safely.
Okay.
But a formal lighting plan will be developed prior to construction when the actual units and everything like that are ultimately determined.
And with 61 bays idling, any?
Yeah, so I believe the mass policy is 10 minutes?
It's about 10 to 15 minutes, I think. I think you're closer to the 10 mark, but any truck that's idling for more than 10 minutes has to be shut off.
So adherence to the truck idling policies, practices. And I'll bring with 367 parking spaces, I would like to mention that any of them going to be EV ready, electric vehicle charging, because I'm thinking with that size, you should have some at either on location or some various spots for employees.
That's typical of other kind of projects we've done, so we can easily make a certain quantity of spaces EV capable and ready. Typically, that's just running the conduit from the building to the spaces so that when that time comes, you don't have to rip up the pavement. You just literally run the line, put the unit up, and call it a day.
Because we'd like to ensure that it is EV ready, and you may actually want to, put a few in to start as well.
I think typical 5% to 6% is usually what I've seen for EV capable at this point in time.
Okay. Could we put an actual number on it just so we...
Yeah.
I would just say show it on a plan. I don't think that we have a specific number.
We don't
Just
have
show
a
some spaces
percentage,
on a
but we
plan.
want to say, but that many, I'm not
You
sure
can
with
determine
employees.
the number, I think.
Okay. And they'll be located near the office entrances.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Haley, has that happened at some of these other facilities that you have under construction?
Yes, absolutely. It kind of varies by municipality. A lot of times it's a condition of our approval. We want to see 10 to 15 EV ready, and then we want to see 5 EV stations. They are rolling out, more technologies. Hopefully one day there'll be EV charging stations for trucks. We're just not seeing that at this point. But I would say that most of our projects have to be EV ready for a portion of the employee parking.
It's all about, at least from a planning perspective, just being prepared. That's really what it comes down to. So.
Yes, Massachusetts is, following the California model at this point. So was it 2035? So make sure.
Yeah, just like similar to the sign, just at some point in the future, show them on a revised plan, and you can tally all these up. There'll be a few minor tweaks. Show them on the final plan, and that'll be the plan that ultimately is, the final approved plan.
Sure. Yeah, you can provide us a narrative too. We're going to provide X amount, and then have be X amount of EVs, and then X amount ready.
Okay.
Of course. That's the questions I have so far on the site plan. Any further board member have any questions on the site before we delve into traffic?
Not until we get to traffic.
Okay. Traffic's like big.
Sure.
Thanks, Chris.
So we can skip ahead through the slides. Again, there's a landscaping plans in there, and then I also popped in the elevations and the floor plan 2D. They don't look very good, but I can promise you that once these things are up and in a 3D rendering form, they do look a lot better. And with some landscaping that we provided, I'm sure it will come out great.
In any event,
a building that big on a piece of paper.
Yes.
In any event, there'll be a stripe on it.
Yes, we have been using the stripe a lot. I don't know why my architect really likes the blue stripe. Maybe we could change it up for the Fitchburg project.
Red and gray would be fantastic.
I was just going to say
What's that?
Red and gray would be fantastic.
Red and gray? Fitchburg colors? All right, well, I'll throw it in there.
Halfway's around the building on the Lunenburg side, you know? and have it-
No, you wouldn't have to. Let them see the red and gray.
I said, you're really getting too consistent, so he threw some blue panels on the entranceways. That was his way of changing it up. So we can look at that.
It's not a condition. If it's something you want to do, great.
I would just say, as long as it's just not all one color, right?
Got
You
it,
just want
yes.
to just break it up.
Understood.
Visually,
Yes.
that's all. Just not a monolith.
Yep.
And then there's a floor plan in there too, which shows 3 proposed office spaces. As I mentioned, in case this was subdivided, we could accommodate multiple users. The base spacing is approximately 50 feet by 56 feet wide, with a speed bay on the end there at the end of the loading docks. This is pretty typical for Class A warehouse users. So you can continue on. So as I mentioned, Vanessa, our traffic engineer, is on the phone, Andy Arsenault, and will be presenting a couple of slides regarding traffic. We know that that is an important topic that we didn't have at the last meeting. So since then, we filed a full transportation impact analysis to the city of Fitchburg, sent a copy to the town of Lunenburg, and as I mentioned, performed an additional study for the city of Leominster, just to satisfy, their concerns of traffic going through Leominster. So Andy, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you if you're ready.
Sure. Excuse me, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good evening, and thank you for your time. For the record, my name is Andrew Arsenault, business address 35 New England Business Center Drive in Andover, and I'm representing Vanessa Associates.
And thank you for having a good microphone. It's been so hard to listen to people. But yes, go ahead.
I have a good microphone. I don't know about my internet connection.
Perfect.
So, we performed the transportation impact assessment in support of the project. Tonight, I just want to touch on and present our report, but also acknowledge that we have begun that peer review process, as Haley mentioned. In short, we provided our responses to the comments back to the peer review team, with the exception of one item, a review of the local crash records. And just to give a quick update on that, we have received those records from the police department, and we'll work through reviewing and summarizing them in the coming days. Next slide, please. With all that being said this evening, I hope not to bore everyone with the technical aspects, so I'm just going to focus on the overall findings of our study. To go over the highlights, we performed this study in coordination with the city and MassDOT, and we performed it in accordance with MassDOT and industry standards for the preparation of these studies. We conducted our field observations last April, which included a review of the existing roadways, pedestrian and bicyclist infrastructure, public transportation services, and most importantly, safety. We analyzed the estimated operating conditions and found that the project itself would not be expected to result in significant impact to motorist delays, with the acknowledgement of the current operating conditions within the study area. Based on our review of the available crash records from the state, we did find some high crash locations, which we have suggested some improvements for that I'll get into in a moment. And lastly, the lines of sight at the site driveways exceed the recommended distances for safe operations. Next slide, please. I won't spend too much of everyone's time on these background slides, but just as Chris and Haley had mentioned, just to orient ourselves, our site at the yellow shaded box straddling the Lunenburg line just off Crawford Street, with Route 12 off to the south and Route 2 and 190 out of the shot into the east. Next slide, please. Getting a little more detailed, here's a schematic of our study area. The study area roadways are fairly typical for urban environments, with widths of generally around 11 to 12 feet in additional turning lanes at the intersections. Pedestrian accommodations are provided for primarily along the Bemis Road and Route 12 corridor, with that shared use path running down the north side of Route 12. Next slide, please. As far as the project specifically, we use data compiled by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, which is the industry standard, to estimate the traffic volumes for the project. This data is based on real-world studies of similar land uses across the U.S. And again, I don't want to go too far down the technical end, but in short, the project is expected to generate around 620 total trips over the course of a typical week.
You're fading off a little bit there. I missed the very end.
Am I? Okay. All right. I don't want to go too far down on the technical end, but the project itself is expected to generate around 620 trips over a typical weekday. with around 70 trips during the weekday morning and evening commuter rush hours. We've also looked into breaking down the split between the passenger cars and the trucks, which is about a 2-to-1 split over the course of the day. Next slide, please.
Andrew, does that include both truck traffic and the, I would say, employee vehicles?
The 620,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
It includes both. I think it was around 400, I'll call them employee or passenger cars and trucks, and then the diesel truck around 200.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. After performing that technical analysis, we came to our findings and our recommendations. This first one is an abbreviated list of the recommendations we included in our study, and have generally all been reflected on the site plans. These are all fairly typical of these types of projects, and they just aim to ensure that safe and efficient operations can be provided in and around the site. The one item I do want to point out that is kind of specific to this one is the installation of a truck entering sign in advance of that east site driveway, just to let motorists coming along Crawford Street, just to make them aware that there are trucks coming in and out. Next slide, please. Moving away from our site, we have a few different recommendations, basically 2 families of recommendations focusing on traffic operations and safety enhancements. I'll touch on the operations first. Right off the bat, we would recommend the design and implementation of a traffic signal timing and phase improvements at 2 intersections, the Route 12 at Bemis Road and Wannasock Road, and the Route 12 at Nicholton Battle Street, just over that line in Leominster. And additionally, we suggested that some design alternatives be developed at the Route 12 Avenue intersection, and that includes, but isn't necessarily limited to, the installation of a signal. We'd provide that functional design report to the city for its future use. Next slide, please.
Well, before you move that slide, what about the intersection, any light optimization regarding Airport Road and Bemis intersection?
I could take a look at that one in detail. I don't believe that we found that there was any significant impacts at that intersection. Bear with me, my computer is...
Okay. Are you proposing that all the traffic is going to be going up Benson Street or going over to that intersection and up Newsnock?
We had a pretty good split of the traffic. Some were going down Benson Street to get to Route 2, and anybody going up Route 12 would go down Airport Road.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, whether or not there should be any, since that's right at the end of Airport Road or Crawford Street, in this instance, whether or not there's any pertinent updates that might be needed for that timing.
I didn't find any in my initial review, but it's something that we can definitely look at getting on to the next kind of in the not to spoil anything, but in the road safety audits, we can certainly look at
Airport and Bemis only becomes something that we have to look further at once Amazon's up and running. Combination of this site and Amazon could cause issues at
that intersection.
Yeah, Airport and Bemis, but I don't know. I mean, I drive that almost daily. It's not not an awesome intersection, but there's no.
They're going to look into it.
Yeah, right. Well, what I was going to say was similar to what we did with Amazon. You know, the conversation needs to be, you know, look and see how it does, and then see if we in the future need to address signal timing or I don't know, additional turning lanes, or I don't even know what's possible. But it's the type of thing where I don't think we'll know until 18 months or so from now, when ideally both businesses are operational.
So I would say we can still look into it now, but also, you know, we would also be looking at some future condition, I think was brought up by the peer review of
monitoring,
going back over and reviewing the traffic.
So we've been doing this a lot in our other projects, is committing to a monitoring, 12 months or 6 months after the project. So, Andy, do you remember what the peer review said? Because we'll agree to that monitoring condition.
let me
Something
see if
about
I
a
can
year.
pull up.
I have, it's okay.
There's a
Is it
year, and then
six?
there's a certain percentage, so depending on whether or
Is it
not it exceeds a
10%?
certain percentage on the volume calculations, whether or not another additional reviews have to be, done.
And mitigation.
Right, yeah, for mitigation.
I had a standard condition if and when we get to the point of voting that subject to them implementing the traffic, the suggestions from the traffic study.
Yeah,
So
I
as
just
long as
wanted-
you guys are okay with what he's saying, then we can just make sure that those all get, input into our decision, so.
I don't
just
think
wanna
there
make
was
sure-
anything in there that we wouldn't agree to.
I agree. I don't want to speak
Okay.
for you, Haley, but I didn't see anything.
Yep.
If I could just move on to the
Go
next
ahead.
slide.
Yep, all set.
Talking about the other end of it, the safety aspects. As I mentioned, we noticed some areas for improvement within the study area. We recommend that a road safety audit get created for the 6 study area intersections and then turned over to the city for their future use. In addition, the proponent will commit some funding to implement some of the low-cost, short-term improvements so that hopefully, in advance of the more sweeping changes, so hopefully there can be some improvements made at those intersections, kind of phase 1. And the last one that I want to call out for safety is the installation of an RFB down at the Benson Street crossing of the Twin Cities Rail crossing. Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, I agree with that, but also I think we need those rapid flashing beacons at the Bemis-Winoosknock intersection. That's actually even larger intersection than the Benson Street intersection.
Okay, we can.
So I was under the impression that was the location we were talking about. I don't even think Benson was an issue. Bemis, the issue, the one that's been an issue or that could be an issue is that principal intersection, the crossing at Winoosknock and Bemis, because of how close the rail trail is to that, turning that intersection. So I was under the impression, because I had it in my notes from when we had development review, which was March probably, whenever that was, that the chief had said to install a flashing beacon. I was under the impression we were talking about that intersection, not. I mean, it's fine if you want to do both, but I think Paul is right. I think the problem intersection is Winoosknock and Bemis.
And I'm trying to think, there isn't, I mean, it's at the crosswalk itself. Benson is mid-block, really, but at Bemis and, Bemis and Winoosknock, it's right at the intersection.
Yeah.
The way
So I think that would be, facing the proponent side, meaning it would be, so if you're coming up the hill on Bemis, you see the flashing to stop, not necessarily around that corner from Water Street because it's right there. I don't know. I
see what you mean, yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Paul,
go ahead, Nick.
So the Twin City Rail Trail crossing at on Bemis at the Winoosknock Bemis intersection, that's already signalized. So when someone presses the button,
it's all set.
It adjusts the signals. So I don't think that needs RRFBs. Typically, you don't add RRFBs at a signalized intersection. That's over signalizing the crossing.
Thank you.
One of the dangerous conditions there is that right turn on red that people make, and we've added signage to prohibit that. So I think you'll see an improvement in safety with further enforcement of that.
Right.
Look at that. We're on it.
I was going to echo what he was saying.
That's fine.
It's
Like
already
I said,
been addressed.
Like I said, I was under the impression that was, and granted, that was before we had a lot of the issues coming up. That goes back to the beginning of the year, so.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nick, for that, too. Clarification.
So we're good to stick to this committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that, Nick. That you said it perfectly. And lastly, just to round things out, we recommended the inclusion of a TDM program for the project, just to help cut back on the single occupant vehicle trips for the daily employees as much as practical. There's only so much that we can do for the trucks, obviously, but these are just kind of a highlight of some of these were taken directly from our report. Just they hiring of a transportation coordinator to manage the program, setting up facilitating a rideshare matching program for the employees.
The fourth bullet there, your welcome packet, detailing available transportation services, bicycle and walking alternatives. I don't know that there's any walking alternatives. You can't really walk up Airport Road. So, I mean, there's no sidewalks, right? Anywhere on Airport Road.
No.
So I would not encourage anyone to walk on Airport Road. It's a very, and I would imagine FPD would say the same thing. I saw Captain LeMay's on here. I don't know if he's here for this project, but it's a high, high rate of speed that people travel on that, and especially if you have, a late shift worker, we don't want people walking on Airport Road. So I would expressly discourage that.
Yeah, I would encourage, though, to communicate with MART regarding busing, because they could even potentially have, depending on the employees interested in that, you could actually have a stop.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely something that comes up when the tenants commit to a site. They want to know what's available to their employees as well, so I can certainly see that.
Perfect.
And, as I mentioned, that I just wanted to provide a brief overview summary of the project. I think that's all I really have. If I can be around for any specific questions you may have, but I'd like to thank you all for your time and your patience this evening.
Yeah, so in the review, I did notice a lot, just on condition side, a lot of them going to be performed before the certificate of occupancy, just saying, for some of these accommodations to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And see anything else off-site? Oh, I know this was brought up in April, but at least painting of the bridge rails over the Nashua, that's up by the west entrance. West entrance. Something minimal, but something that'll bring up the aesthetic.
I'm sorry, I forgot to include that.
That's okay. It's off-site, piece, but it's really right before your main vehicle entrance, so it kind of behooved in order to spruce it up a bit.
Okay.
And then I would just even ask DPW and whether or not there's any accommodation potential for pavement improvement between on the Airport Road side towards the Benson Street, because it's, the other side going towards Leominster has been repaved, but that section has not. So with all the truck and vehicle traffic proposed.
So Paula, the issue there that we need to replace the water main from Bemis Road, essentially to that building right before the bridge. So I had applied for an ARPA grant to take care of that and then pave the road after the work was done with our last round of ARPA funding. The steering committee chose not to fund it, so it kind of has sat idle for a little while, but it's on our radar of things that need to be done in the very short term, because we recognize the pavement is terrible and it needs to be paved, but in order to pave it, we need to fix the water main. So we're hoping to pursue ARPA funding when they open up the second round of funding this coming January.
Okay.
You scared me when you said, I thought you said it was the second phase. I was going to say, wow, that happened without me hearing about it. So I'm glad we still haven't done phase 2 yet, because we've talked about that at length. So.
Okay. No, good to know. It's come up prior very, large vehicle trips and construction of the Amazon facility and others. So about the pavement condition of what can we do to improve that?
Yeah, we did want to pave it when we did the other 3-mile stretch from the bridge to the Leominster line. But again, the water main held us up.
Okay.
And another thing to point out too is just that bridge is not in the best condition either. Last summer, we made some deck repairs to fix a hole. You could actually see down through the bridge superstructure. So we're going to need to do something there at some point too, especially with an increase in truck traffic and whatnot due to the development. But that's certainly a city issue, not a developer issue.
Are there any funds that the developer can help defray costs of that, given that there's going to be a tremendous amount of vehicle traffic over there directly for this site?
I mean,
No, that wasn't for you, Nick.
Okay.
I think we would consider it. without knowing the amount and being.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. I was saying maybe there's a number that you feel comfortable with that you can offer to the city. And again, I think that it's not something that we would necessarily specifically require. What we do, with large-scale residential projects, like you might have heard earlier, we have per-unit contributions for large-scale residential projects. For a large-scale industrial project like this, especially because that bridge is going to be, directly worn by a lot of traffic from the site. If you can commit to that, I think it would be a good gesture of, a good corporate partner in the city. So if you can do that, I would just suggest you look into it and see what you can do, and maybe you can, it'd be a great welcome too to say we have a donation towards future bridge repairs, and this is the amount we're comfortable giving.
Yes, we can certainly consider that. We'll consider it. We have a lot of property in Fitchburg, so it's important to us.
So, and the other reason why I say that is usually one of the things we would do in a project like this is we would require off-site improvements like sidewalks, or Paul had mentioned roadways. The problem and benefit to this site is there's no sidewalks that go to the site. The roadway can't be done. So, I would hesitate to say, obviously you don't want to say pay for the bridge because that's probably a tremendous amount. But anything you could give to help defray costs, even if it's for, future overlay of the road when we do the utility lines, I mean, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely.
Great.
We can consider that. I also think it's worth mentioning, separate of this application, but will come in connection with this project, is because the Benoit, the owner of 20 Crawford Street, will be giving us a portion of their land. They're currently on septic, so we hope to extend the sewer line that we're putting to our building to service their property as well.
Oh, great. Good to know. Nick, do you have any comments regarding the traffic study and the mitigation with the signalization, optimization, and other proposed?
I don't. I think it was pretty thoroughly evaluated. We can certainly work on adjusting the phasing and signal timing of the intersections that were noted. Beyond that, I think the bigger concern I have is just with the development on the other side of not other side of the river, but over on Intervale over there, in the traffic that might potentially generate. I think this site, because it's on Crawford Street, it's already a very wide right-of-way, a higher speed roadway with signalized intersections on both ends. I don't see it to be a major issue. I think it's built to handle the truck traffic and passenger vehicle traffic that this site's going to generate.
Thank you, Nick. That's a good segue to the most important question, which is 135 Intervale, which is the access road. So I don't see it on that plan.
So
the access easement's still maintained?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. So we noted on the plan that a potential proposed easement would be granted to the city or the owner of 135 Intervale, which is us. We spent significant time looking into the feasibility of constructing a roadway at this time. We approached Simon Saw, the owner of the landfill. As expected, they said, if you can indemnify us 100% for the landfill, we'll happily give you an easement. We don't know what's in the landfill. I spent a couple of days digging through Simon's basement records looking for any information. DEP didn't have any records of the landfill. So we met back with city officials in the summer, and it was deemed appropriate that if you leave us an easement, we can cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
All right. Does any board members have any questions regarding the site plan? I just also see that you're accommodating bicycles on the site too, based upon some of the comments here too. You're going to provide secure bicycle parking. In regards to that, is there anybody in the audience that would have any comments or questions regarding this application? I don't see anybody physically here, but if they're, Mary Jo? Sure.
Mary Jo Bohart, Economic Development Director. I just wanted to acknowledge and remind the planning board members that this particular site, it's addressed Zero Crawford, but we often internally refer to it as the Airport Road Sand Pit. And it was a large industrial tract of land that the city engaged with Mass Development through a site readiness program a few years back, and it was to look at the potential. The Commonwealth actually recognized the importance of having larger industrial properties throughout the Commonwealth that could be brought to their highest use. And the sandpit site was, I don't want to say languishing, but it was a place where we mined sand or we put sweepings or whatever, but it really was not economically being used. And so that effort with Mass Development, which actually did identify the portion of the Benoit's property that ultimately GFI is incorporating in their passenger entrance, so that's good to know. But it prepared the city to look at what the site could be, and then the timing obviously was ideal when, in this case, the applicant took an interest in the site. So this wasn't something that we just woke up yesterday and all of a sudden the site is being looked at for this use. This is something that the city has been hoping for a while, and it's now kind of coming to fruition. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jo. And I don't want to put him on the spot, but I mentioned earlier, and I wanted to apologize too to Captain LeMay. I saw him after the 3 marijuana extensions that we did. So I don't know if he wanted to say something either about this, or if you were on for one of those, or if you choose not to speak, it's okay too. So, what?
I don't want to change the subject, though.
No. But I know. But go ahead, Matt.
Well, there's another subject regarding police and marijuana, light and other business. So.
No. I know.
Can you folks hear me okay?
What's that?
Yeah, we can, Matt.
Okay. I'm actually waiting to talk on the Healing Center, the other one.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Continuation for their permits.
Okay.
So the one I'm waiting for is the Healing Center.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss you.
Yeah, thank you for thinking of me.
No problem. All right.
Yes, my understanding, there's a number of agencies and the city, like you said, redevelopment involved in this site. So it's great to see that it's going to the reuse.
I know that
to its highest use at this point from a sand pit.
I know the overall consensus was, elation for the project, and I'm very excited for it too. From day one, the only significant concern I had, other than the issues we have to get over with traffic and everything else, was that access easement for the 135 site. I know I talked to Bill at length about it, and I know it was a very difficult position. We were lucky in that you were the developer for that site, so you understood the issue associated with that site, and as I mentioned to some people in the FRA and other things, the biggest problem with this site was we knew we had it under our own control, under either the FRA or the city's control. So as soon as we lose that control, we need to make sure we maintain that. So I very much appreciate you guys working with us on that, and knowing full well that there are extensive hurdles from that might not be solved anytime in the future, but we need to make sure that we leave that avenue open. So I appreciate you working with us.
Are there any further comments? Anybody in the audience remotely? Just raise your hand. Use the raise your hand function on the screen.
No one else.
No one else. I'll ask again, any board members have any further questions? And our remote members?
Nothing.
Okay. Does the board feel it has enough information?
I'm good. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. A motion's been made with the second to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for Fitchburg Land Property Owner LLC, Industrial Warehouse and Distribution Center on 0 Crawford Street. I do have a rather extensive list of conditions, so Paul, if you can keep up with me and let me know if I miss anything. The first one was the most pressing condition that I have prior, was just to be sure that there's never any queuing on Airport Road, which was one of the things we had always mentioned.
Any what?
Queuing on Airport Road.
Queuing.
So no lines of cars or trucks going in or out. Aside from that, everything else we covered tonight. Address comments from Ty and Bond to the satisfaction of the DPW. recording of the O&M plan and keeping it updated, erosion and sediment controls in place at appropriate times and locations per the DPW, landscaping per the plan that you had shown tonight, landscaping and signage not to interfere with sight lines, future location of signs, sign or signs, I don't know, multiple signs to be shown on a future plan and elevations to be provided once it's determined, submittal of a formal lighting plan, adherence to truck idling policy, EV-ready spaces to be shown on plan, subject to implementing traffic suggestions in the traffic study, look into the intersection of Airport and Bemis Road and any hiccups that they might cause, and I suppose that's directly tied, mentioned to your traffic consultant. Monitoring traffic patterns 1 year after occupancy and work to mitigate any issues observed in the area of the project. Paint the bridge rails if possible along the Nashua River in close proximity to the project. Look into donation towards future road and bridge and infrastructure costs associated in the bridge and road in close proximity to the project, and cooperate with future work associated with potential development of an access road to the Intervale site. That's what I got.
Second.
Yes, there'll be more, there's more specifics in the actual
Yeah, we can fine-tune
responses
them
and all
later,
that where
but
we respond
those are the
to
important
those,
ones.
but those are generally speaking. And as we discussed earlier about like revisiting the traffic in a period of time, as recommended in the traffic study, peer review. That too, and I think that's it. So there's been a motion and, right, there was a second?
Yep.
And all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed. Roll call vote. Alin?
Aye.
Laura? Oh, actually, no, Laura. She's, yep, sorry. Recuse herself. Alex?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Amanda?
Aye.
We have it.
Thank you very much. Really
You guys have
appreciate
been
it.
very cooperative.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Very substantial project for the city. Thank you very much.
We're very excited.
We are too.
Us
Thank you.
too.
Mike, I'm going to send those to you.
Oh,
Okay.
you know what? Was there something about work hours? Or just comply?
On the Lunenburg side, but I said at the beginning, I don't have any
Issues.
real concerns.
I just comply with
Comply with city code.
city code.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's all we have to do. Okay.
City code construction standards. All right, we do have other business, and maybe this will be an easier one. We have the special permit for the Healing Center for 346 River Street. They're requested to amend an hours of operation, and we actually put a question to the police department. Says pretty much most of the cannabis operations are the same hours throughout the city for retail on purpose. But
of
unless
10 to
they're,
8.
unless the, and that was upon request of the police department previously, so unless there's a change or accommodation.
Oh, we got the person here to answer that for
Exactly,
you.
Miss Captain LeMay.
Go ahead, Matt, whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. As I've stated in the past, keeping the hours consistent with all the establishments in the city, I feel is important. I stand pretty firm on that unless somebody else has a reason to change that. Having that all the same in the city is important for no one rushing around from place to place. So that's my recommendation, is to keep it the same. I've reviewed other establishments throughout the state, and there is some leeway with some of the other establishments in other communities, but the hours are in close time frame to what we have here in Fitchburg, so I'd like to stay the same.
Thank
Just so you know, Captain and the board members, this originated in a call to the mayor's office from Paul Ferrazzi, if you remember him, one of the principals at the Healing Center. So I was invited in on the call too, and he just, asked the question, what would it take? I said, well, if Worcester PD is okay with it, but the planning board's going to follow along with what.
So just for the sake of argument and refreshing my memory, right now we are 10 to 8.
Right.
And they wanted 10 to 9?
I think 9 to 9. One at either
9 to 9?
end.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly
For the
am behind.
Christmas season, Paul. it
What's
was
that?
said.
Yeah, right. But it's a slippery slope too. You change it for 3 months, and then it's things were successful. Can we change it for the year? And it's I think that I agree with FPD that we had that it was well thought out when we started the thing, basically saying this is the hours that everyone was comfortable with. Everyone was good with it. We want to keep them all the same so that they all start and end at the same time. And it gets too muddy. The only way that you solve this is if the FPD and the mayor's office wanted to have some sort of, plan to change them all 9:30 to 9:30 or whatever the heck the number is. But I'm comfortable with the way it is now. And I mean, it's not that there's got to be any lack of sales activity in any of these places. They're all so busy.
They are open 7 days a week, right?
I believe they all are.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll
So
pass that word on. That this is a non-starter.
All right. So the question was asked
Thank
and
you,
answered.
Thank you for being patient,
Thank you.
Matt.
Thank you.
And now we do have, underneath other business and informal, New View Communities, conversion of a first floor to residential at 470 Main Street.
Yep, and I just unmuted Mark.
Oh, okay. Remote.
Yep.
Mark,
Mark,
Russ Tanner
whenever
is the
you're ready, I'll
architect.
try and get up this thing here if I got to go back a million different emails here. Okay.
There you go.
All right, Mark.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Ken.
Okay, great. And if you could just also, the other members of the team, I think, are also online. So if you could just unmute them too, that would be Steve Cook, Russ Tanner, and Andreas Romero.
Got it.
So I'm just going to give a quick overview. We just really, as we oftentimes have done, brought in a few things ahead of time for just informal consultation. We'll be back in person shortly to go over the whole proposal. So as you know, we own 470 Main Street. We converted the we converted a few years ago the upper floors into residential units. And now what we'd like to do is convert the back of the building into more residential units, into 7 new residential units that will be facing onto Boulder Drive. It'll be on 2 floors, the lower level and the first floor, if you're on Main Street, the first floor side. So when the building's all completed, we'll have 38 residential units.
38.
The Main Street commercial space where TD Bank was before they left, that will become a new commercial space. And we'll have a second smaller commercial space on the Main Street side as well. So our total commercial space will go down from 13,000 square feet to about 5,000 square feet. We'll have new residential units in the back, and the 2 commercial spaces in the front will be much easier for us to meet the market demands. So that's really the overview. I can turn it over to Andreas to give you the specifics about what the proposal is going to be and answer any questions that you might have.
Hey, Mark, you mentioned just overall, is it currently 38 units?
No, it's currently 31 units, so we'll be adding the 7 units in the back. It's on 2 different levels. So there, I think you have up there, Paul, that's the first floor. And then if you go back the other way, you would see the lower level.
Yep.
Oh, boy. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Andreas Romero. I'm at Davis Square Architects in Somerville, and I'm the architect for New View Communities. And trust everyone can hear me well.
Yep.
I won't spend much time at all on sort of a description of the existing building. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but feel free to ask any questions if you have any. And I think probably the plan you were on is a good one to start with. It's page 10 of the set, if you'll just kind of scroll down. This is the existing, or this is the proposed lower level of the building. The work that we're proposing is on the first floor and on the lower level. The first floor is at grade at Main Street, and the lower level, it's kind of a split level setup, if you will. So the lower level is at grade at the rear of the building on Boulder Drive. And the units we're proposing at the lower level, at the back of the building, will add a total of 3 units. You can see them here. There's at the bottom of the plan south, there's a 2-bedroom, and then there are 2 1-bedroom units that we'll be adding adjacent to those. The existing entries to the building are going to stay as is. So in this plan, you'll see on the left-hand side, there's a double door there. That is the rear access to the building. That accesses a common corridor that serves the existing residential units on the upper floors, also serves as trash and maintenance access for the building. And I understand it's sort of the entrance that's used quite a bit for a lot of the residences at the upper floors in the building. We will be adding windows at the rear of the building. Right now, I don't know if you have any of the photos available. The back of the building, it's got kind of a blank facade. So the lower 2 floors here, you kind of see that white box. It's existing. The existing facade there is just kind of a blank facade without any windows, only that entrance door. So we are adding windows at both levels at this sort of blank facade. That brings light into all of the new units south side of the building, so we'll let a lot of light into the units. And to achieve all of those windows, we are removing an existing stair addition, probably most visible if you scroll up 2 pages to the plan. At the left-hand side, you'll see there's sort of a dashed-in area where there's an existing stair tower that we'll remove. That stair tower is currently just serving as access to the commercial space, which won't be required when we convert to the residential units. And we are adding 1 interior stair, which you can see sort of planned north here towards the middle of the building. And that's an existing stair where the cursor is now. So plan exactly, that would be the new stair. And that will provide egress for the new units on the first floor and the lower level. Let's see, if you scroll down 1 page, that will be the first floor of the building. And this shows pretty clearly the commercial space, the Office 1 space it's labeled. And then the Office 2 is the smaller commercial space down at the bottom. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm happy to go into more detail on any of this if folks have specific questions.
I recall in the previous development there were certain factors you had to do for preservation for the staircases. Will that impede the project at all, or was that just dependent on financing?
I can answer that one. That staircase was actually the one that's labeled Stair C. We actually have no more historic, the time period for all the historic renovations, preservation has expired, but we will not be impacting that Stair C as far as I know.
Okay. How is the parking working out between the units now where for the parking count for the additional units? Because they'll be seeking a waiver for parking potentially with this, so we'll have to evaluate when you submit the special permit, the parking.
Yep. We currently, I believe the letter that we have still in effect is something like about 80 units or something, 80 parking spots that we could reserve. I checked. So for the 31, we have about 25 of those 25 of the tenants have cars and have taken spots in the garage for what we pay for.
I think you're right, Mark. I'm looking at a letter that was in the file back from 2007. The city is willing to reserve 87 spaces at the parking garage.
So you're actually reserving 87 spaces?
What?
I was going to say that they're just saying how many we have, so you're reserving basically the 25 that people are currently using?
No, that letter said that we could have the right to use up to 87 spaces if we needed it. So we pay for the spaces that we use, and right now we're using 25 of those spaces.
Okay.
So the one thing we should revisit that just to make it match kind of what we do now. That must have been an oversight because there has to be a long-term lease agreement for all the spaces that you need. You don't need that many spaces, first of all. So we certainly don't need 80 spaces. But something like what we just did at the other site, which was one per unit, something like that. You should have those spaces they're there, you should have those spaces earmarked specifically for your project. So, because the problem with the way that was done before is that letter said, yes, they were available. Okay, they were available when that letter was done, but if you don't actually have a long-term lease agreement for those spaces, they might not exist tomorrow. So the project needs a long-term lease for all the spaces necessary for the project, which, like I said, does not need to be 80. It needs to be much closer to maybe one per unit or something like that. I think we just need to look at kind of, what the bedroom count is. I mean, obviously, you have the best number there, which is you currently use 25 spaces. So, I wouldn't even mind that as a baseline for what's existing, and then adding, maybe one per unit for the 7 more, and keep those, create long-term lease agreements and maintain those in perpetuity, and that's the way that should be done.
So please provide for the special permit a breakdown of how many, of the 38 units, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, so we can figure out the parking count and any type of waiver request you're seeking on the parking.
So it should say how many are required and how many you think you need, and then we'll like I said, I assume the baseline is going to be 25 plus 7. So you think you need 25 now, plus say 1 per unit for the new units. That would be the minimum, and then we would treat that like we treat every other project, including the one we just did on Main Street, which is going to require long-term lease agreements for those parking spaces, and that would be the minimum required to maintain for the project.
And then also you would be seeking a waiver for a density for the lot, because typically with the update to the ordinance for multifamilies, it is particularly over 6 units on Main Street is 2,500 square feet per unit for the density, so you'd be seeking at least the waiver for that for the present lot size.
So you can just say we're requesting a waiver for density to the current lot size. And that solves that problem.
Yes.
Great. Okay, well, that's exactly what we wanted. Just make sure we were surfacing all the issues and previewing it so we can come in with a plan that.
Mark, while we have you on the line here, because I've heard it secondhand and I'm sure it's true, but I just want to double check. So the story behind this is the commercial space you have existing now, the TD space, is just too large for a typical commercial tenant. Is that why you're doing these residential units?
Sure. Yes, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I think the commercial space is it's very large. It's configured perfectly for a bank that wants a vault, it's not enough plain vanilla box for us to be able to rent it to a typical, a typical commercial tenant. We've tried for quite some time to just lease the space. That hasn't been successful, and we thought this would be a great way to take advantage, provide housing that's needed, provide us with sort of a steadier stream of income. Nuvve really is committed to, we've been working so hard both with Reimagine and now In Town. We're really committed to helping to keep the city activated and alive and revitalized. So we thought this was a good way to make sure that we could have a stream of income, to use that space that just really isn't being used now. And, we just don't know, as post-COVID, how that space is going to be used.
Sure.
I think it's a good compromise, too, with utilizing the back for the residential and maintaining some commercial storefront.
I did want to just, I guess, to the board, to let the board know, I did want to kind of get one particular thing out there because, obviously, and thankfully, we're doing a lot of, projects on Main Street over the last 3 months that I know when Tom was here, Tom and I had a conversation about this, and the first thing he said to me a couple months ago was, Newview is going to come in with first floor residential units, but don't worry, they're not on the front of the building. So I do want, obviously the board to know that if this were a project, if this were another location on Main Street and these units were facing Main, that would not work. That's not the type of development we want to see. The only reason why these work is because of the configuration of this building and the fact that we're not completely getting rid of first floor commercial space. It also makes it easier now that we have a single tax rate, too, to not have to necessarily worry about that sort of stuff. But the location of these on the first floor is the only reason why I think we should even consider it. And I do think it makes sense. I am for this, so I just want to make sure everyone knew that.
Also, I'll just please make sure you touch bases with DPW prior to your application and/or to get some feedback. As you maybe have seen, there's some, also on Main Street, just making sure you've got the water and sewer connections, if any updates need to be made to that, and any, as well as any stormwater or roof runoff that has to be addressed. You may have already addressed it with the present configuration, so this might not matter much at all, but there's something you need to just check on, so you're not surprised.
It's always safer to talk to the departments beforehand. That way we don't have any surprises the night of the meeting.
Nope, that's great. These are all terrific. This is why we come in with the informal, so that we can make it go as smoothly as possible when we have the full proposal.
Yeah, we don't like to put the departments on the spot either,
Yeah,
so, or
right.
make everything all conditional all the time. So if it's all addressed ahead of time, the better for it.
This is Steve Cook. We have also reached out to the building department, the building commissioner, and have gotten him these plans just so that he can weigh in on them when we're ready to come in. So,
fantastic.
Mary Jo has a comment. Paul?
Yes.
Mark, it's Mary Jo Bohart, and I just wanted to let you know that one thing that for the past few years the city has been doing with projects of scale is that Economic Development Task Force, which is basically an internal department head type tabletop plan review. That's probably the best way to get the sort of feedback that you could have gotten a la carte in the past. Because when we do those, the building commissioner is throwing out his ideas while the fire safety guy is right there, or the DPW commissioner is there, and they inform one another in an informal discussion. So this likely would be quite suitable to be reviewed in that informal way, and that would maybe be the easiest way to get some of the feedback where all the departments can hear one another at the same time.
I'm glad to see that didn't die with Tom leaving us, because that is a very helpful thing.
Sure.
Development
It's going to be a
review
regular
committee.
thing, first and third Thursday.
Yep.
First Thursday of the month?
Did you say first and third? Twice a month now?
First is more of a just internal,
Or is it
right?
second
And the
second and
third
fourth?
is like outside applicants?
Yes. So I believe it's in 2 weeks? 2 weeks? I'll double check the date for you, Mark, but and these are set dates because all the department heads have carved out the time in their calendar for these kind of meetings. But anyway, it's not something that existed as a regular gathering when you did your 470 Main 10 years ago. And I just wanted to put that out there, that it's a handy tool. Others have used it, and it seems to work pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thanks for that, Mary Jo. We certainly have taken advantage of it many times, and I think we encourage the city to help do it, and it's been really helpful. I guess we didn't, to be honest, I didn't think this project was necessarily large enough to be able to do that, but it sounds like a great opportunity for us to just, we can reach out one-on-one, but also to have everybody there, as you said, so there's fewer surprises.
I just checked my calendar while I was sitting here, and it's Thursday, November 3rd at 10 a.m. So you might want to tentatively put that on the calendar for yourself or some of the New View colleagues. And I will talk to the others that are a part of the organizing, just so they know. But that would be ideal. Since you already have plans, it's not too soon to have that kind of informal feedback if you're interested. If you wish to wait, you can certainly wait. These are recurring meetings.
Mary Jo, are you running them now, or is Liz, or?
We're doing it as a team.
Okay. Well, can you, Tom used to send me invites. Can you send them to me? Because I know Tom, I tried to go as often as I can. It's tough when I have another job, but I will come if I can. That way, because I know what Paula looks for, and
sure, absolutely.
That way I can at least try and give some planning board input.
Thank you. Any further questions, Mark?
Is there anything else any other team members want to bring up at this time to the planning board, or that I've missed?
And I wouldn't want to be remiss on, if Nick's still there, if he wants any input at this point in time, or wait for the submissions.
Thanks, Paula. I'll wait till we meet during the economic development meetings. I think that's a fantastic idea.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate
You're welcome.
your time. And
Are you going to be ready next month, you think, Mark?
Yes.
I'm hoping that we are going to be ready. I guess it depends on what the feedback is that we get. But yes, I think the idea was to bring it here, make sure we had our everything ready to go, and could get it out to the departments quickly enough so they could then return their comments. So that's our hope, is that we'll be ready for next month.
And while I have you on here, we haven't gotten a BF update in about 6 months. What's going on?
Good idea.
Sure. We're pushing hard to close. So we have selected a syndicator. We're working with a contractor. We're struggling, as many people are, with sort of the escalation of prices and trying to figure out how we can make sure that we can close. So right now, I think I would say we don't quite yet have a closing date. I believe that we're having our business meeting with the state later this week.
Tomorrow.
And so we'll have more of an idea then, but we are hoping to close sort of the first quarter of next year. But the real wild card, Paul, is just sort of, those, as every time those interest rates go up, that makes our debt harder. And even more than that is sort of what's happening on the construction side. So we are really wrapping our arms around those two issues at the same time, and so that we can try to close the first quarter of
just keep an eye on
the first quarter of next year.
Just keep an eye on the extension for that permit. It's got to be close, right?
Excellent point. We will double check that. I heard that come up twice earlier in the meeting about people not filing their extensions.
Yeah, it just seems like, I don't have a good mental timer for these things, but it just seems like so long since we've had that conversation, I worry that it's expired, or close to it, so just double check.
It's October, it's this month, I believe, or it was the beginning of November of 2020, so, yeah.
Steve, are you saying that the permit expires this month? We don't meet again this month.
I gotta double check. It may be November.
Okay, hopefully it's November. Then hopefully it's the last week of November.
Maybe it's December.
Okay.
Consider, this is New View giving a request to the board for an extension.
I don't have a problem with that. It's not something that I don't think we have to have it as a public hearing, so I don't really care if we want to just do it. I honestly, doesn't matter to me. I could probably look up the date too. Bear with me for 1 second. What's the address of BF, Steve or Mark? Do you remember?
62 Academy Street.
Let me see what the. 62. Oh, and hopefully it was recorded. 62 Academy.
I don't know if you have the permit to say what, start within X
I just
amount of
don't,
years.
I just don't want it to expire, then that causes all sorts of problems. All right, easement, so there's a modification in March of '21. That probably has it in there, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Here's the approval. Let's see what that says.
It was recorded October. Oh, that's the first one.
I got it coming up right here. Just bear with me. all the Mike O'Hara, all the COVID dates are no longer applicable, right? The Permit Extension Act and all that stuff.
No, I think so. Well, the COVID extension.
Two things. I'm sorry. The automatic COVID stuff is what I was talking about.
Well, does this informal discussion like trigger some sort of something?
Just trying to pull up. I gotta stop sharing my screen. I need my computer to do this.
I got it up here now, Paul.
You have it?
And skip to the end. Okay, 2 years from date of grant. Well, it was recorded November 4, 2019. So Steve has a good memory, or Mark.
No, but there was a modification. I just pulled up the modification. I found 10/6/2020. So there was one in 2021 that modified it again.
Yeah, March 30th, 21. That's the one I just had up.
Oh, look at all the people.
So yeah, so if it's
Did that modification accommodate an extension?
Can't do it on my phone.
I can get it.
62 Academy.
October 7, 2020. And did that give?
No, that's expired then. But there was, I know there was one in 2021 in March or thereabouts.
Yeah, March 30th, 2021. I'll share my screen again and I'll show you what I'm doing now that I have it up. I just got to get the webinar stuff back up again. Share screen. Share. All right. So this is the March 30th, 2021. Modification 20 increase. So this was just increasing the units from 62 to 68.
Be the last page.
This is the no, that's was the only page that was coming up. Oh, that wasn't the whole thing. So you just want the signature date, Mike?
Well, the date and clocked in.
Well, because this is...
Because that's the effective date on the upper right.
This is...
3/30/2021.
This is the last page, which has 20-day appeal.
Lapse after 2 years.
10/6/22, and then 20-day appeal. So it's good until... It's October 26, 2022. Because she signed it October 6th, then it was 20 days after that.
No.
Oh, it's just the day of recording? It's not the date of the thing? So March 30th, 21 is the day it was recorded. You see what I'm saying?
I do. But there's got to be, during that time, a COVID extension. Which extends out beyond, even if we go with the date of the signature, October of 22.
Okay. Well, guys, just look into it. I mean, I suppose we can't really approve it if we don't know when it expires. There's no sense in doing an extension. It's just something you're going to want to keep fresh in your mind about whether you need an approval, an extension or not. I certainly don't want to go through the whole public hearing and reapproval of that again. It's just for any project. It's just it's time consuming.
Yep, just let us know if you need an extension request.
Yep.
So
We'll
just
probably
so
perform it as a hearing, as we do with most of the extensions, and we'll get it on the agenda.
So since we didn't, just to be clear, we can't do it tonight because we didn't notice it and do all the proper things that we needed to do, correct?
No, we can't do it tonight because we don't know if it's expired or not, or if it's expiring anytime soon. I can't tell based on that document when it expires. So I don't know when it expires. If
Right underneath the various extension acts, maybe auto extension, so.
the chances are good it didn't. I mean, like Mike said, it was recorded March 30th, 2021. I would assume that that's probably the date that they go off of, the recording date, right, Mike? I mean,
We'll figure it.
yeah. Well, it's only a problem if it's October 26th, because that's tomorrow.
Right.
So, I mean, can you?
We can actually
Can you
say
have a
that
theoretical
if it-
extension to next month?
If it is.
Just to figure it out?
If it is, we'll just say we're in.
Make a motion 30 days extension.
All right. Yeah, right. If a conditional extension of if it were to expire in the next 30 days, the permit is good until our next meeting, November, whatever. That way it gives them a month to figure it out, ask if they need one. If you don't need one, no problem.
Second.
Thank you, Amanda.
Motion's been made with a second. All those in favor of the 1 month extension?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
How about that?
All right. Thanks, Mark and Steve and Andreas and everyone else who's on. Much
Thank you guys very much, and thank you
you.
also for the help with the extension there.
Yeah.
If it ends up being October 26th, that was just good luck.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good day, guys.
Nothing more than good luck. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
So I know we have communications. We do have a little bit of time. I didn't get a chance to review the minutes, but if we could take a few minutes to just go through them, I think we can just get through
I
it.
did go over them, and I honestly did not have one correction. So.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. I
But-
guess
but
the
we
only
can.
thing I wanted to say, like, I was looking at the June minutes, and we can bring them up on the screen if you want them there.
Yeah. You want to bring it out now?
Yeah.
I got it. Just bear with me for 1 second. My computer decided it doesn't want to continue this meeting, so it shut everything down. The only thing that I did not go over was all of the, we'll get to it, all the junk from the extraction facility. There's a lot of
Oh,
weird
and that
parts of
decision
it.
was already written, so can we make sure that the
All right, so let me go full
provisions
screen here, and let
match?
me share this, hold on 1 second, share the screen.
That would be my comment.
Gotcha. Why the heck won't it? Oh, there we go. Share screen.
Thank you.
Okay, share. Alrighty,
All right, so the first one, this is June.
June 20th.
Yeah, I don't think Herlin read an introduction. I read an introduction.
I saw that, and I was curious, but she might have. That was the
So-
first night, I think.
Yeah, so I would just,
Production was read.
yeah, and so I would just say that. I would say, it just said, Chair read an introduction regarding public comment process, and then strike out the whole, what I read. I mean, otherwise, you're going to put that at the beginning of every set of meeting minutes from now on.
That's what they did.
you know.
It's in the next one, too.
So, it's, I don't know that it's necessary to extend the meeting that way.
Point
But,
taken.
Gotcha.
yeah, I don't need, that. Like, it need to be verbatim.
But thank you for the effort.
Yeah, it was a great effort, so to try to, to match it up.
Trying to
but
recognize.
I know.
Do you want me to stop anywhere in particular? Do you
I
want to
didn't
read them?
I didn't read them through. so
Okay,
if
no,
you
go
wanna
ahead.
If you
No,
want to
no,
go
no,
just a
no.
little slow,
No,
we had
that's-
the A&R plans.
that-
I mean, let's take, oh my God.
I
Hold on a
honestly-
second, I have to like blow it up a little bit because
Oh,
I
I
can't see
can,
it.
hold on, I can make it bigger on my end, too, so that it's easier for you to see. How's that?
Okay,
Can even go one more and still fit it.
we have 7 people there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's the other thing. All right, so we're okay with A&R for Nault.
Mhm.
All right, we've got minor site plan for community health connections. Oh, there we go. Now get present, time and Hill, some board members.
I do actually have one sets of the 3 or 2 of them anyway, if Paula wants to read
Oh,
from
you want
paper
them in
rather
paper?
than the screen.
Yeah. Get your red pen. Oh,
I have a paper one, but my printer decided to print it even
Oh,
smaller
my
than it is.
goodness.
So it's a little hard to read.
June 28th, okay.
Hey,
I'm just
Nick,
trying to
while
get
you're
this
on there,
the
while
screen.
Paul is reading that, do we have any update on Drapanos?
Some board members.
Sewer work, repair work done.
Yeah, that's why I was curious if he or Gary knew if they're moving forward.
So I have heard that the sewer work is definitely done, but I have not heard anything from Davenport as to whether they plan to do it this year or next year. But I'm assuming at this point they're going to be doing it next year because we're up against the November 15th cutoff for excavation in the roadways.
But someone at DPW told them that you're all done and they're ready whenever they want, right?
I believe Gary reached out to Davenport.
Okay.
I'll check him tomorrow just to make sure.
Yeah, I just don't want there to be a, Davenport comes back and says, oh, we never got the okay. We didn't know we were going. So, okay. Were you able to reply to John Savone, that email that I forwarded you about Game On?
I have not, but I will. I just got the traffic impact analysis engineering study for the proposed 4-way stop there. So I need to review that, and I want to give John a summary of that too when I reply to him.
There's no rush. I was just curious because that was leading me to the next question of, do we have, is that work being done in the spring?
It's going to be done in the spring, yeah. So we're working on getting the paving contract finalized and all that. We were going to try to rush it through and try to get some work done this fall, but it just too late in the game at this point, so we're going to have to wait until spring to address it. We will need to talk with Peter San Germano and make sure that we get his donation for his portion of the work on Game On Way, though. I haven't corresponded with him recently, so I don't know if he's in a better financial position than he was when he put the binder course down. But basically, that binder course doesn't meet our standards. The density's not right. It really all needs to be fully reclaimed and paved, bottom to top. It's not something we can reuse.
Wow. Did they know that then, or is this going to be all a surprise?
Peter knows that, and my understanding is that he has not paid the contractor.
Okay.
I'm trying to stay out of the policy.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Do we have is part of your the paving contract? Are you, because I'm still waiting on that number for the sidewalk.
Yeah. So once we get that paving contract bid out, then we'll be able to give you that final number.
Okay.
But right now we're trying to finalize it. We're working on a bunch of other stuff, other ways to pave a few other roads that were impacted by the combined sewer separation work. So we're trying to get that done right now, and then we'll get the paving contract bid out with purchasing department in the next month or two, and get some prices and start planning for spring.
Yeah, and obviously I get you. It's not that important now because we're not going to do anything before November anyway. But I keep harping over that quote for that sidewalk because we also have to ask Game On for that money that's part of that permit. So there's $100,000 that exists only in paper right now that they have to contribute to satisfy the special permit. I need to know what portion of that is going to be the sidewalk, and hopefully it's not all of it, nor even hopefully a significant portion of it. But if it is, we need to figure out what other costs that the planning board plans to mitigate. So that's why I keep making, this thing started out 5 years ago as, or not even 5 years ago, 3 years ago as a $30,000 sidewalk. And the most recent quote I heard, not from City Hall, was a much larger number than that. So I just worry that, we go back to them and we say, is $100,000 to do a sidewalk that 4 people are going to use.
Right. Well, I think the neighborhood's going to use it regularly based on the feedback that I've heard from the residents. I think what our plan is because we're basically taking donation and doing the work ourselves, our plan is to put in concrete and granite over there so it meets our standards and we're not really compromising. As far as what we asked Peter for to contribute to that, I think, we've kind of worked out an understanding with him. He's contributing to the asphalt and granite number, and then we're going to make up the difference.
So you think 100,000 is not even going to cover the entire, not even do the sidewalk?
If it's concrete and granite, it's going to be close. I mean, that stuff gets expensive.
Wow.
But we'll have to see what the bid prices come in at. I don't really know. The market's wildly variable right now, so we'll have to determine that. And then, so we'll have to estimate it based on the bid prices with concrete and asphalt, asphalt and granite. That'll be Peter's donation price, which is basically what he agreed to. And then we'll take that money and use it towards concrete and granite and put in something that meets city specs, so we're not compromising with that.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Okay, thank you.
Can I jump in and ask a quick question for Nick, and actually for the rest of the board too? You remember the 50 Wayland Street project?
He probably can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Green Meadows. One of the conditions of the original special permit was they were going to be, speaking of repaving, a portion of that road, which has been patched now. So I guess the question is, that Green Meadows has, do you want us to do something else? Actually, they would rather that condition in the original special permit just be waived.
Well, my thought was, because we talked about this a couple months ago, and first of all, whoever did that overlay did a horrible job. It's terrible. I don't know if that was a city job, Nick, or if you know, but that was such a shitty patch overlay that at
You're on
the beginning.
7-second delay here.
What's that? Oh, sorry. But there is, if you drive a little further down past it, there's another bumpy stretch when you get to right where that vacant parking lot is.
Yeah.
So maybe we just move that 200 feet just to the further section that needs to get done. Because the intent was, hey, you guys are going to use this as your principal way out because we have the no right turn there. And they said, yeah, we get it. It's not a great road. So if they can just, make whatever part of that better.
Because that was the distance.
That's in keeping with our original decision.
It was 200 feet. Okay. I'll ask them just to carry that on.
I mean, and talk to Nick, too. I mean, about maybe he can better decide exactly where that 200 feet should be, and just have that, that work be done.
Yeah. I can talk to you offline, Nick, on that.
I'm sure the DPW would rather get 200 feet of pavement than us waive the condition. At least we get something out of it.
Yeah, the other option I think would be asking for a donation in the amount equivalent to 200 feet of paving, whatever they were planning to do.
Okay.
That's fine. I mean, if you'd rather that, I don't care.
They were also supposed to restripe the stop line over there.
Yep.
I don't know if there is one. It's been repaved, but I don't think there's a stop line.
Yeah, it was a DPW patch that's out there. And the issue is that the road was in such bad condition. You patch a little pothole there, a pothole there. It doesn't really improve the rideability. What's there now is a little bit better than what it was, but it really, that whole section needs to be repaved. And frankly, that whole neighborhood behind that little old south cutoff needs to be repaved. So Minneapolis, and the roads down.
Columbia as well.
Yeah, Dewey, yep, all those. So that's on our radar, but not something that we're planning to tackle in the immediate future. So I think maybe a donation, which includes the value of the pavement and the value of the stop line, might be a good way to go forward. And then we can just put that towards our Chapter 90 paving work.
If the board's okay with that, I have no problem with that.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to float that to them, Mike, I'm sure that they can figure that out. And then you can give them the option, obviously, because I know some developers, their initial, or some person in that situation, their initial thought is, because I've heard it from developers before, well, why are we doing a contribution if it's not going to directly help us? If they insist on doing something or waiving it, then then they can coordinate with DPW as to what section of that portion of South Street. That is South Street, by the way. It's Old South Street's on the other side. Old South Street's down by Hayward Street.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. I've done that before. It's so confusing because they're both like little side streets. It's just, but anyway, it's something you can run by the applicant and see what they prefer to do. But I'm with, if they don't care, I'm with whatever, DPW prefers.
Can we let Nick have his supper now?
What's that?
Can we let Nick go?
I honestly was surprised Nick was still on. I wasn't even asking him a question until I saw him on there.
Oh,
Nick, you can go eat dinner if you want.
You're excused.
It's still early. It's only 9:23.
Joe, we had a very full
Encouraged.
agenda, but I think that, hopefully by me meeting ahead with some of the applicants just to go over some basic pieces hopefully helps streamline the process. So.
Well, I made you all wait with the Public Works Committee, so I don't. It's not a problem. Happy to.
No worries.
And your input has been tremendous, and we
Yep.
really appreciate that, and the time you've taken with the applicants, too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Happy to do it, and thanks to Jeff too for spending some time reviewing these today, giving me some feedback.
He's not here, otherwise I'd thank him, but you can thank him for us. That's nice.
All right. I've got some comments, just a couple minor things on June.
Go for it.
Page 3.
Yep.
Special permit site plan for 14 Highland. Second bullet, second section says minimum 12-foot wide curb cut entrance. It was just 12-foot wide curb, and it wasn't minimum. We would try to reduce it, not make it bigger. So it wasn't like, go
I'm
wide.
assuming you're making little notes in your copy of the minutes,
What's that?
right?
Yes. So I
Okay.
just want to say there's that. And was there one other thing? My goodness, was that it? I think that was it. Aside.
Yeah,
that was it. Aside
they were
from
well done.
They were.
I'll
Yeah.
make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Motion's been made with a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Now I got to look at
So if
August.
you want that top part scratched out, scratch that out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll remember.
Okay.
I think.
That's just like she hit the gavel and opened the hearing, so it was just kind of like a standard statement.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
I didn't hear you hit it tonight.
I didn't close it yet.
Oh, did you hit it to open it?
Yes, I did.
I
A few
missed
times.
that.
I did a little rat-a-tat-tat. So I'm sorry. Now I'm just looking at the August minutes. So give me a couple minutes. Did you look at this one too, Paul? Did you have any comments?
Yeah, no. I have a comment that I made a note because I wanted to just mention it to Mike. We have one of the minutes says the owner of Crown Point will be notified that their trash hauler must not pick up late night, early morning hours. Did anyone ever actually tell?
I ran into Sean
Oh, did you?
in
Good.
City Hall the following morning.
Oh,
Because he
good.
happened to be, for a Canterbury-related legal matter.
Yep.
And told him, and he said he has heard the complaints before, and I forget the name of the trash hauler, but he's complained to them before. But they, I don't know, ignore him. I don't switch to a different trash hauler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe he gets a deal with them.
I mean, it's the type of thing where I feel bad for these property owners because they're not going to call the Board of Health, which they should, or the building department, and just say, this is stupid, or the mayor's office. They should just call. Like, I feel bad because nothing's ever going to come of this, but there's nothing really we can do. I mean, other than what you did.
Yeah,
As long as you told him.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to bring that up. But,
Well, if that's still a problem, I'd give Sean a call and
but
say,
what I'm
just
saying is none of these
switch it.
people will tell. I don't envision people calling you or the mayor's office and saying, this is a problem. They're going to be like, oh, we'll deal with it. Like, I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would just call someone and get it fixed. But I don't know. It's hopefully it's a non-issue, but I don't know. Oh, the only other thing I had an asterisk next to was we had talked about it in August. I had mentioned to Nick about the blank sign at the bottom of the
Oh,
Game
yeah.
On sign thing.
Right.
And I don't particularly care enough. I mean, obviously, if it costs a significant amount of money, it doesn't matter. It was just, it's a good advertising point for the city to have a nice placard up on that Game On sign. And we always had it as a placeholder. So, Nick, if it's something that you decide you want to, move forward with, or if the mayor's office doesn't, I really don't particularly care. It just looks kind of weird with a white blank there. Especially because we told everyone they couldn't have the double signs. So now I feel really bad that there's a blank there, and everyone's like, "There's a space for my sign." But whatever.
I agree. We should do something there.
I don't remember if I sent it to you. I know it said in the minutes I would send it to you, but I had used the mock-up from the entry sign, the one that had I think it's a picture of Coggeshall and City of Fitchburg, or Mirror Lake and whatever it was, and I had used that as the sign on the one that I created. I'd have to find it. That was forever ago. That was like 2 years ago now, a year ago.
You don't mean the Fitchburg Rock sign?
No. It was. It might. Maybe I took it off there. It doesn't say Fitchburg Rocks though. It says City of Fitchburg. I took it off a sign in Google Maps, and I just moved it over to his architectural rendering. Like I said, it was. I have it, but it was so long ago. I'll have to find it. I'm sure whoever does the city signs, if they decide to do it, can do a way better job than I did anyway. So.
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, no, it was pretty hasty. That the whole goal was to just get that sign thing complete and done because I was sick and tired of it.
I'm almost done.
No, that's okay.
Some of these have already been, the decisions have already been written, so just making sure, it's like, just going back just to make sure some of it matches.
Agree, yeah.
Oh, and if anyone's curious, because I'm reading it at the end of the minutes, about the refrigeration truck on Game On, that's since gone.
Right.
We finally have everything permanently installed, and the truck's no longer running. So.
You been up there of late?
I go up there maybe once a week.
Do sometimes on the weekend,
Drive
but there
around the
doesn't seem
site.
to be all that much happening.
No. Yep.
No, I guess I'm good. I
Make
would
a
just
motion to
recommend
approve
just
the
strike the
minutes.
intro piece so we don't have that addition.
Make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Motion's been made with a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those, thank you. All those opposed? Okay, so we're good with at least the 2 sets of minutes. I will hand that over to him.
Perfect. Anything else?
And no, we just had any other communications. If there was anything else, we could always bring back up South Street, the project, and making sure that the applicant is reminded about the housing development near Romano Ave, that when's that mound going to be removed?
They were removing it today.
Oh.
They had 2 dump trucks I saw leaving there today with fill material.
Okay.
Which I didn't know they were moving it off-site, but apparently they are.
And that the sidewalk has to be completed prior to any occupancy of the residential complex.
Building department is well aware of that before any CO.
Is the applicant aware of that? Or I should say the owner, because he's not the applicant.
Well, Mark's out of the picture.
Yeah,
but,
right. Lance
his
Delegano.
partner, thank you, Delegano. Yep.
Okay, as long as he's aware, as long as no one's surprised by it.
Yeah, don't want it to be a surprise that they're all ready to go over the winter and it's not done, so they can't do anything.
So they just put a binder coat. Is that just a binder coat they put?
Yeah, and then it's also doing landscaping on the site as
But it's
well,
not
so.
like- I mean.
to create the parking and buffer the parking from the proposed commercial in the front. Regards to that. Is there anything else the board has? Any member communications or?
Any ideas further down on South Street?
What's that?
That lot that's still crumbling and,
Good question. So is it like is it Whalen? Like
Yeah,
that
that's
spot,
Whalen.
the little spot that was been excavated out on Whalen next to Pierce?
is it crumbling down into South Whalen Street?
I got the most Italian name of all time, and I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Any
But
form
I
of
can
intent or
contact the
anything
guy
what to
again.
do?
I mean,
Nothing.
I expected, back in the springtime, he expressed interest in appearing before that Economic Development Committee, but we never heard from him again.
Okay. I was just wondering what is the project going to be? And
He has a conceptual plan for like 6 or 8 townhouses up on that. It's that little plateau.
Yes.
Right?
Guido,
At the corner of, I forget the
Giovanni
side
and
street.
Tonioni.
Yeah, 10.
That was one thing floated, then
He
it
owns
was
the
something
Guido's
about
dumpster
cars floated, so I don't know.
I was going to say, I heard cars.
Right.
He had 2 plans. You sent them to us forever ago. One was 6 townhouse units, one was a small commercial building.
I don't remember seeing them,
Forget
so.
I don't remember the second one.
Yeah.
But I'll,
They were at the same time.
Anyway.
Maybe that was economic development. I don't know.
no, he never appeared before that. I'll reach out to the engineer and see if what's
inquiry.
happening there.
Nope, and I asked Mike to look into, there was one on Mount Elam at the Scenic Road Act regarding the stone removal. It removed a lot more stones.
And yeah, they didn't think we noticed.
Yes, so, yeah, some should be remedied.
Wow.
That-
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. All those in favor? To adjourn?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? My goodness.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hanging in.
It's 9:34. Woo-hoo.
Bonus.
Bye, guys.